Bit Harmony is a pleasure for all your senses. Yes, all of them. When you've heard over 4 hours of Matt and Seth talking about Super Monkey Ball music, you won't know where the borders of your sight, hearing, and smell begin or end. So lean back, close your eyes, light a candle, and start heating up that plump roast. The pleasure starts now.
You're listening to Bit Harmony, a video game music podcast, and I'm Matt.
And I'm Mr. Thou. I'm Seth.
I was trying to think, I'm not as familiar with Final Fantasy VI as you are, or rather, I don't think about it to the degree where I could come up with a bit like that.
Sure.
The only thing I was thinking about was some kind of Blitz input. I'm like, you just selected the Bit Harmony Blitz input, or so. I don't know. It's dumb, but hey, yeah, we're talking about Final Fantasy VI. This is our 30th episode and also the end of the season, so kind of just wanted to go out on a big one, I guess. One of the obvious ones. We don't do that many obvious ones, and
right.
Though it's funny because this is not that obvious of an episode for you and I. You love the game, but you haven't played it since 2017, I think you said.
Yeah, since the Super Nintendo Classic, yeah.
That is also where I played through this game for the first time fully all the way through in 2020, and I do not particularly like it. So if you are here for a Final Fantasy VI Gush Fest, you should be prepared for that, I guess. The soundtrack is great, though, which we'll obviously get into. But I guess with that said, our intro song this episode is The Mines of Narshe. It is worth mentioning, in the lead up to this episode, I thought we were going to do a Super Nintendo original versus the Pixel remaster kind of thing, kind of like what we did for the Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door episode. And then when I started listening to the whole soundtrack, I'm like, no, that's dumb. There's too much music that is amazing in the soundtrack to spend that much time, two run-throughs of each song we want to play. So we will have some Super Nintendo original stuff in here. For the most part, though, we're going Pixel remaster, just because by and large, I like it more. There are a few exceptions, but if you disagree, I don't want to hear about it. Or if it's
your own podcast.
If it's a nice disagreement, I guess you can say something. But yeah, otherwise, make your own podcast.
Yeah, make your own video game music podcast. But I will say though, I agree with you. I'm somebody, this game is very near and dear to my heart, as we'll get into. And I'm if you're listening to this podcast and being like, but I have how could you not cover so much of the Super Nintendo original? I would normally be with you. But no, seriously, and you'll hear it throughout this episode, I do think that the Pixel remastered versions of these songs are just the truest representations of these songs and are kind of the definitive versions of many of these songs.
Yeah.
So.
And even if you disagree with that or whatever, I think it's basically inarguable. These are just as good as the original, even if you don't agree that it's better, they're certainly not worse in any significant capacity. So
sure.
That's where we came down on it at. So anyway, intro of this episode is The Mines of Narshe, the original Final Fantasy VI composed by Nobuo Uematsu. And from my understanding, he supervised the Pixel Remaster soundtrack. I couldn't find any definitive answer of who did the actual arrangements. So I guess we'll credit it to Nobuo Uematsu in this case. But again, that's The Mines of Narshe from Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster, and we will be back. That was the Mines of Narshe. Is that how you pronounce it? I assume it's Narshe.
It's funny you say that. I was gonna bring this up. I wonder if we're gonna bump into like the classic Super Nintendo RPG "you pronounced it differently than me" thing over the course of this episode. Now, I always pronounced it Narshe as well, but my friend Justin growing up, I think, would pronounce it as Narshe.
Okay,
so,
I kind of like
know.
Narshe. That's kind of nice. Just
Yeah.
don't come at me with that like Narshe. Like, no.
Right. Yeah, no, there's no accent over the E. Yeah.
Yeah. So for one, this I went with this as the opening because for one, we can't do Terra's theme as the opening. Like it's
Sure.
too obvious. We will play Terra's theme later. Everything is going to be okay, I promise. But not only is this not Terra's theme, but it's kind of emblematic of how I feel about the Pixel Remaster soundtrack, which is to say that I like it more overall. And I think this is one of the best examples of that. Like, to me, in the original soundtrack, like, Narshe was fine. I liked it. It wasn't bad or anything, but it never, like, stood out. But I don't know, the Pixel Remaster version, just like, I mean, this is the first area of the game you're playing. That damn saxophone coupled with all the
Yeah,
industrial noises and stuff. Like, I loved this.
Yeah, it really is like that. It's funny because what you just said is like more almost verbatim my first note. This is what I have written here. This is just very emblematic of the remastered soundtrack in general because the new instrumentation here just adds so much texture. Like it just, like it takes that original soundtrack and it just adds more to it. Like without being overdone, because it would be easy for them to overdo it. Like it would be easy for them to just like add way too much. But what they've done here is they've kind of like, and you'll see this throughout the course of this episode and this music, but what they've really done here is like taken the intentionality. It makes sense that Uematsu oversaw this stuff because it really feels like they've taken like what was intended. Like if they had the technology to make this music sound this way back then, this is what it would have sounded like, So yeah, to have like, that sax is crazy. Like the strings in this are crazy. It's got like these hand drums, kind of going on, and it just gives the entire thing like, I don't know, a different texture. And one thing that I think is really cool about this song in particular, because this is like the first kind of the opening of Final Fantasy VI is still one of my favorite video game openings. Like just
even as a hater, it's undeniably super cool.
Yeah, like it's so chilling, and like, I'll never forget like experiencing that for the first time, like as a kid. Like I felt haunted by by that opening, and I think that the tone of that original song is already pretty sad, but something about the way the sax is being played in this gives it, and I don't know if it's because sax is associated with like jazz or like blues or something like that, but it makes it feel not just like this tone of sadness, but also like pain, like like he's really kind of wailing on that sax, and like it just, I don't know, like it makes it feel so much more impassioned, I guess. And yeah, it adds a lot, man, and it really, I think, punctuates the pain of that entire moment in the game. And yeah, it's like one of the all-time great video game openings to me.
Yeah, fully agree. Yeah, even playing the Pixel Remaster when I started it up, and I still got chills. Like just again, we'll talk about more later for Terra's theme, but yeah, just the opening with the Magitech armor marching towards Narshe and stuff, and then it is incredible seeing like the night, the lights grow in the distance in the night sky towards
the game. The game's so cinematic. Yeah,
right, and that's also why, to me, like the Pixel Remaster soundtrack works so well. It's what we're talking about with like the higher, like the better sampled instrumentation and stuff. Final Fantasy is a series where like the main currency that Final Fantasy has to spend isn't its production value, and that like really started with 6 in particular in my mind. Like the series has always been a step up above its peers when it comes to production value. Like even look at the original Final Fantasy compared to like Dragon Quest,
right?
And it's night and day. Now, granted, Final Fantasy was made a couple years later, but that's all to say that I could see some people having the opinion that like, oh, I don't want these better sounding like saxophones and drums and whatever in like a 16-bit game. However, it doesn't really feel out of place to me here, because I get that argument. I totally could see that in a different game or a lesser game, that this remastered soundtrack would be kind of overdone. But I don't feel that way about any single song in the whole thing. It's very, very well done. And like what a strong opening. And even when it comes to me replaying the game on Switch, only for me to like 10 hours later be let down by the fact that I just don't like the game.
Sure.
But yeah, that's basically all the notes I had for it. I mean, obviously I love breakdown with the string focus around 150 and stuff, where it just starts feeling even more jazzy out of nowhere. But otherwise, yeah, I don't really have any other notes. Did you have anything?
No, I actually, it was funny making my notes for these. I definitely don't have, like, my notes are not as thorough, I think, as they normally are. It's hard for me, and I think we're gonna see this a lot in this episode. It's real hard for me to detach myself from this game. Like this game is really like I a lot of my notes are about like emotions, I think, more so than the songs.
But even for me, as someone that, again, I don't have nostalgia for this game basically at all, I was still getting pretty emotional at like at least half of these, like in a way I wasn't expecting. I wasn't even getting emotional listening to them while playing the game, but listening to them on its own for this episode, I'm like, damn, like this is really hitting in ways that I just didn't expect. Like, Nobuo Uematsu, we'll talk about him more in depth later, but like he is, like, I don't know, besides Koji Kondo, is he like the first like really truly revered video game music composer? Like one where like people knew his name even.
Right.
Back in the 90s, I think Yuzo Koshiro, I guess, is another one. There weren't that many examples of, especially a Western audience, knowing the names of the video game music composers, right? And Uematsu broke through that, and it's easy to see why, like, covering this game 30 something years later, like it is deserved. Obviously things can get overblown. I think, again, this will be the last time I say this for a while, I think Final Fantasy VI might have dethroned Ocarina of Time as my pick for most overrated game of all time. But the soundtrack is not. The soundtrack is fantastic and surpasses like my memories of it.
I agree that the game has become overrated for sure. I definitely agree. And I also should say, I had intended on doing a replay before doing this episode, because I really do, y'all, I am like, my heart is open to any experience, right? To any way it would make me feel replaying this game in 2025. My hunch is that my opinion of the game wouldn't change that much. And I think that a lot of where our differences in opinion on this game come to bear is actually like our tastes in video games in general and the things that like you value in video games higher than I do, you know? And so I think that's where a lot of those differences I think come in. My hunch is that like I feel like I can't detach myself from it too much, even though it's kind of exactly what I rag on people for all the time, even on this show. Like people who, you know, let their personal attachment to a game kind of blind them to its faults. That definitely is kind of me with Final Fantasy VI. So I admit that fully.
You know, I don't mind that. You know, as long as people are self-aware and stuff
Right.
of that. And
You have to be
I feel like
self-aware. Yeah.
yeah. And I feel like you and I are like painfully aware of our own existence at every possible second of the day.
Yeah, no
So
kidding.
like I'm not gonna fault you for liking a game. Again, I still think it's worth playing, especially if you've never played it. Just yeah. Hey, you know what? We'll talk about that as we get further into the episode.
Yeah, sure.
What do we have for general housekeeping?
Okay, yeah. So we do have actually a few new people to thank for checking out the Patreon. So first of all, thank you to Toxic, who joined at the Golden Banana tier. Thank you to Bob Blah Blah rather. I was about to pronounce it individually, like Bob Blah Blah. But
Yeah,
Bob
it's Bob Law Blog at his law blog. Yeah,
his law blog, exactly. Thank you for coming in at the 1-up tier, and thanks to I'm so sorry that I'm gonna probably mispronounce this. Thalita Carvalho, is that it? I think.
I would just pronounce it how it's spelled. Yeah,
that's my best stab at it. But in any case, I'm sorry if I've mispronounced it. But thank you for checking out the free trial to the Patreon. We really appreciate it. Of course, we will thank all of our patrons at the end. But we should also say that one thing, so we are going on a break for the summer after this episode, but we are going to make an episode of Bit Harmony, which is ordinarily a Patreon exclusive show to our Golden Banana and Triforce tier supporters. We ordinarily would lock that behind the paywall, but we are going to make one of them available on the Patreon free feed. So even if you don't want to support the Patreon monetarily, it does kind of behoove you to join the Patreon even at the free level and hang out, because on the 15th we're going to make the Earthblade episode of Bit Harmony available even on the Patreon free feed. So yeah, so check that out. That'll kind of be like a good little stopgap while we're taking a break.
yeah, a nice little stopgap if you're missing us too much. Also, yeah, to clarify, if you don't understand, that unlocked mini episode that won't be hitting like the Spotify feed or anything.
Right.
You have to go over to the Patreon and sign up. Even at, like Seth said, at the free level, you just need to sign up and go check it out. Yes, this is a guerrilla marketing tactic for you to go to the Patreon. Yes, that's absolutely what this is.
Right. So we need to get you like wormed into our ecosystem so that then you'll be tempted to check out the rest of it.
And you know, in the future, you know, I've got a whole summer of Bit Harmony event planned kind of thing. That might include a whole bunch of Bit Harmonies, a bunch of mini episodes. So if you really like this show, it does behoove you to get over there.
Yeah, just check it out. Again, it's literally free. There's not even any like weird hangups anymore. You can sign up however you want. So please do it and check that out. And yeah, that'll hit your free feeds. Also, if you want to have like all of our podcasts on one feed, that's a convenient way to do it too, because like I don't lock normal episodes behind a paywall anyway. They just go up on Patreon early and then become available to the free feed. So we do have some people already that hang out on the free feed and still get every like All Ed Media podcast on their feed like they normally would. It's just all in one place. So if you like this show and the KoopaCast, it's kind of a convenient way to have everything in one home anyway. So anyway, yeah, just check that out, I guess.
Yeah. And yeah, to clarify, we're just taking one episode off, basically. We'll be back June 29th, I think it is. So,
right.
We're just missing the 15th. We're not going to be gone that long.
Right, exactly. So yeah, that's Patreon. Another great way to support the show is by leaving reviews, 5-star reviews on your podcatcher of choice. Very appreciated, and it's free to do that, and it really does help the show a lot. If you like the show and you want people to hear it, please consider doing that. It's real quick and easy, and we appreciate y'all for doing it. And if you leave a written review, we'll shout it out on the show. But we don't have any reviews this time around. But yeah, if you've not done that yet, please go ahead and do it. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Give it a couple more months and I'll make another begging post and then we'll get like 4 more reviews. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it takes. Yeah. So
did you have any post-mortem thoughts on the previous episode, the Monster Hunter Mash?
Nothing specifically. It was nice. That was a fun episode because it was nice to hear new music, which is not common for me with this show. It's often like a game that I'm already like really familiar with the music on, and I'm kind of re-experiencing it, and that happened during that episode too. But hearing like music that was brand new to me was really nice. And you know, and I thought it was really fun to we don't need to get too into this, but I think that you can feel listening to that episode that we both like needed that episode, like that little like escape, you know, that little like kind of just like hanging out with, you know, one of my best friends and having fun for a while. I think it comes through in that episode that we both really needed the hang, you know.
Yeah, we can talk about it a tiny bit. Yeah, I don't want to dwell on it too much, but yeah, that episode was made under duress.
Right.
Yeah, my father-in-law passed, and it's been a whole ordeal, as you might imagine, over here. And there's a point where we're like, oh well, do we just delay this episode, or just, like, what do we do? And I felt pretty strongly about like I'll move heaven and earth to get an episode of Bit Harmony out, and I realized because it wasn't just for me either. Like I love doing the show, and the commitment to doing the show under these circumstances reconfirmed to me reaffirmed how much I just love doing this show and making it for y'all. But it also was like in a time of strife, it gave me something to focus on, to deliver something for people that people like and enjoy. So it was for me one of those things of this was good for me in multiple ways. Of yes, just being able to hang out with you and being able to pour my heart and soul into something, and knowing that people like it ostensibly. So I just wanted to say thank you to anyone who has ever listened to the show or will ever listen to the show. If this is your first episode, man, that sucks. I'm sorry, but but yeah, it means a lot. And yeah, in some way, shape, or form, I have love for anyone that has ever participated in engaging with the show in any way, except for that one person, and you know who you are.
Right. Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I co-sign all of that. I just have to get this out of my head because I have a sickness. I think I've talked about this on the show. Every now and then somebody will say something that just triggers like something that is wormed into my brain. When you said the words like I will move heaven and earth, the words heaven and earth always trigger this thing in my head where I hear there's a line in Steven Universe the movie where they Sapphire is seeing like the future of this big like event that's going to like put people in danger, and one of the things Sapphire says is like the heaven and earth beetles are on their morning constitutional. And they're like just these two beetles walking, but they're about to be crushed by like a falling, you know, boulder or something. And just anytime I hear the words heaven and earth, like that whole time I'm just hearing in my head, the heaven and earth beetles are on their morning constitutional. Anyway.
I've only seen the Steven Universe movie once. It was when it was new. I should go back and rewatch it. I really liked it at the time. My wife and I, we watched all of Steven Universe, the base show, the first show together. But yeah, she hasn't seen the movie or Future yet.
Really?
I think she's scared of Future because I told her it absolutely destroyed my soul.
Really?
So I think she's scared of it. Yeah.
That's funny. I like Steven Universe Future. I understand why some people don't, but I liked it.
Oh no, I really enjoyed it, but it really hurt. It really
Sure. Yeah.
it pierced my heart in a way that the because again we don't need to talk about it too long, but yeah, he's grown up and
Right.
he's finding the human side of him as opposed to the first show, which is him like discovering like his alien side of him or
Oh
whatever.
yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, the end credits being human. I
Oh, it's
know
beautiful.
it's maybe my favorite end credit song to anything ever. Like it's
Mhm.
fantastic, but also yeah, I really hyped up the sadness level for my wife, and she's like,
I'm not ready for that. Yeah, that's fair. You got at some
one
point.
day we'll watch it.
At some point, you got to watch. If you're a Steven Universe fan, you do kind of need to consume all of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's just
sorry
it's
for
the
that.
epilogue of the base show. It's fine. Yeah. Speaking of heartache and things you love and moving heaven and earth, let's get into the Sean Capri presents the state of the Nintendo Music Address. Past 2 weeks, we've gotten Kid Icarus, the Famicom and NES versions both, and Splatoon 1, because it was the 10th anniversary of Splatoon 1, which that made me feel old as dirt.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, that's rough. That's a rough one.
I guess we'll save Splatoon for after Kid Icarus. Kid Icarus was composed by Hirokazu Tanaka. I mean, there's not that much to say about Kid Icarus. Okay. I for one, I've been playing UFO 50 a bunch the past week or so, and one of the most hyped games, and one you recommended that I play, is Velgris.
Mm-hmm.
And there's obviously a lot of Metroid DNA in Velgris, among other things, but also there's a lot of Kid Icarus DNA in it, which makes sense because Kid Icarus and Metroid were built off of the same engine and all the same people worked on it, blah, blah, blah. I have a weird fondness for the original Kid Icarus. Like, it's not a very good video game, but I would rather play Kid Icarus than The Legend of Zelda or Metroid. I'll give it that.
That's interesting. Right? Yeah.
I like the music more than those games. I like the weirdness of it. Like, yeah, it sucks when they turn you into an eggplant and you're literally just an eggplant with legs walking around, but it is funny, and that's something that like Zelda, the original Zelda at least, and Metroid don't have.
Sure, yeah, I think I agree with that. I mean, the tone of the original Kid Icarus, I think is like fun and goofy. I just don't like playing it very much.
Yeah, it's not good.
In fact, like even going back to it on, and it's funny. This is the Sean Capri presents the State of the Music Address, of course. But I remember when NES World Championships came out. Was that last year? I remember.
So,
yeah. When that came out, Sean was playing it because that was one of the games included, and he was like, oh, like is Kid Icarus, like, is this game good? Like, I actually kind of like these little like snippets of the game. I'm like, yeah, as a little like 5-second snippet of the game, it's totally fine. Play the whole game though, and I don't know if it's so great. But I do like it for what it is. I like the music of it, and I like the tone and stuff. It's just the act of actually playing it, I'm not a fan of. But yeah, like it was also just kind of cool that they added this. It was neat to see it on there. I do feel like in terms of like first party like NES games, the original Kid Icarus is maybe a little, I don't want to say underrated, but it's not one of the ones that people, I guess, immediately go to, which I kind of appreciate about it. But really, I'm just like, y'all really just need to put Uprising on here.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the elephant in the room, is that Seth and I are huge Kid Icarus Uprising fans. Like, that's borderline. I mean, I haven't even played it since it was basically new, but at the time that was like a top 10 video game of all time for me.
Yeah.
It's probably still way up there. And even if you don't like the game, you're one of these weird dumb babies, the soundtrack is objectively amazing.
Yeah,
so
it's one of the best. It's one of the best video game soundtracks. Yeah.
Yeah, like ever. Like, we will cover it on the show at some point. It's just a matter of, like, we're still waiting to see if it gets like an HD remaster or whatever. But also I have an appreciation for the original soundtrack also because like all of these themes are remixed in Kid Icarus
Right.
Uprising also at some point or another. So there's that fondness. My main nostalgia for a lot of NES games is actually the Wii Virtual Console. Like I was born at the tail end of the 80s. My parents had an NES, so like I played a lot of NES games, but it was mostly like Mario and Donkey Kong and like a crappy Tom and Jerry game that we had for some reason and whatever. I didn't play stuff like this. I didn't know it existed. So when the Wii came out and the Virtual Console came out, that was like my favorite thing about the Wii. And I bought so many Virtual Console games. I think I had like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars in Virtual Console stuff. I owned basically every first-party Nintendo thing across all the systems. So like I played Kid Icarus for the first time on Wii Virtual Console, and I beat it. And they didn't have save states on the Virtual Console.
Right.
Same thing with Zelda 2 and Ninja Gaiden and stuff. Like I have the mid 2000s for me is actually weirdly NES centric because I was playing so many Virtual Consoles. Anyway, we're spending a lot of time on Kid Icarus, when it probably doesn't really deserve it, but I'll just say I like Kid Icarus as a game and soundtrack more than I probably should. But yeah, a lot of that heavy lifting is because of Kid Icarus Uprising.
Yeah, well, I guess last point I'll make about it is I'm glad, excuse me, I'm glad that you mentioned that Uprising remixes a lot of, and includes a lot of this music. One thing, Uprising was so good that it, like, retroactively made me more of a Kid Icarus fan. Like, that game was so good that it retroactively made, because originally I'm like, I mean, whatever, it's a new Kid Icarus game, but I liked the design of like Pit from like Brawl and stuff like this. So I'm like, okay, like I'm interested in this, and I ended up falling in love with the game. But that game was so good that it was like, oh, like Kid Icarus, like I actually kind of like this franchise,
Like I loved Uprising so much that like I started maining Palutena in Smash 4 for a long time. I don't even really like how she plays in Smash 4, but I love the character and stuff. And yeah, Kid Icarus is kind of cool, even though it is funny that I make fun of like nerds who are constantly like, where's a new Star Tropics Nintendo? Where's a new Ice Climber? Like, shut up. No one actually wants those things, including you. But I used to lump people that wanted a new Kid Icarus into that. And then when we got a new Kid Icarus, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. So maybe I'm the idiot. Maybe Nintendo should do a new Star Tropics.
I'm open to anything. I like if Sakurai ends up making a new Star Tropics, I'm open to that.
I remember, I swear we'll stop talking about this in a second. I remember like 15 years ago, people were insistent that Retro Studios should do a new Star Tropics because it would be the Nintendo equivalent to Uncharted. And I was like, what game where you're playing as a child with a yo-yo just because it takes place in like a jungle? Why does that make it Nintendo's Uncharted?
It's not
what
what
are
I
you
would
talking
want.
about?
Not even the approach that I would really want. Like, that's not even the flavor I would want for new Star Tropics really at all. If anybody is listening, and if you're a Star Tropics fan, there's a game on Nintendo Switch made by Shinen Multimedia called The Tourist. And you should just play that. I like that. Gives me a lot of that Star Tropics flavor. That's the closest I've come to like playing something that makes me feel like how I felt playing Star Tropics. So play The Tourist.
Also, Star Tropics is a better game than Kid Icarus. Also, I'll just say
way better. Yeah.
Splatoon, the original, composed by Toru Minegishi and Shiho Fujii. I don't know. Like, what can I say? Okay, I will say this about the Splatoon soundtrack, comparing it to 2 and 3. I'm not trying to say, like, one is better than any of the others or whatever, but I will say I kind of forgot until I was listening to this the other day how much more, like, Green Day sounding Splatoon 1 is compared to 2 and 3, you know?
That's
like,
a good way of putting it.
Yeah, Green Day, but they're being drowned while they're singing. Like, that's kind of what the vibe is. Like, again, I love all 3 of the Splatoon soundtracks. I'm not trying to say any of them are better than any of the others, but I had just forgotten, 2 is way more focused on, like, hip-hop inspirations and stuff. And, like, 1 specifically has this sound and tone to it. There's, like, ska influence and punk influence and stuff, and I feel like that is not as much of a thing in 2 and especially 3.
Right. It's funny you say that. Yeah, there's way more guitar here, right? Like there's way more just like, yeah, that kind of more like straight, you know, Japanese rock kind of influence that it has. I remember there was I don't know if it was like a TikTok or like just a YouTube video or something, but it was like, it was making the rounds when Splatoon kind of first came out, and it was this guy just like playing electric guitar with like a mouthful of water.
I saw that.
So you just like do a few strums on the guitar, like, and, like that's like kind of what the Splatoon soundtrack is. But it is, you know what I was not prepared for going back and listening to this. It is nostalgic to hear Splatoon 1 music. I have not I have not engaged with this soundtrack at this level in a long time. The fact that it had been 10 years was shocking to me. But it did set me back in that kind of like Wii U place in my head, you know? And I don't know, like there was something kind of pleasant about that. And in a weird way, I kind of like that Splatoon 1 is this weird little, because people forget that like Splatoon 2 and 3 are Switch games. And like Splatoon 1 being this weird little thing that just like had its life on the Wii U and persisted and became this massive thing, I think is really cool. And I don't know, I have a real soft spot in my heart for the first Splatoon, even though I do think that each Splatoon game has been better than the last in most respects. I still have a lot of fondness for Splatoon 1 and this music.
The single player definitely gets better with each and every entry, which is cool because I already liked the single player in Splatoon 1 anyway. But yeah, Splatoon 3 single player is like pretty top tier Nintendo single player content, honestly, at least on the Switch. Yeah, it's funny when you go back and watch footage of Splatoon 1. My wife and I follow this professional Splatoon player on Twitch, and we watch him play sometimes. And he's doing, for the 10-year anniversary of Splatoon 1, he's doing a month of only playing Splatoon 1 because, you know, the Wii U servers are shut down, but people are using like different fan servers to still play it and whatever. It is so weird watching the game. Like it moves a lot slower than at least 3, but also the netcode in 1 is still the best, apparently, according to like the hardcore people. Like the refresh rate is still the best on 1 compared to 2 and 3. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, I also have a lot of fondness for Splatoon as a whole, and yeah, in particular, 10 years of Splatoon 1 is crazy. I remember seeing that revealed trailer at E3, whatever year it was, and being like, okay, like that's pretty cool. Yeah, I guess that's basically all I had to say about Splatoon 1, is that it's great soundtrack. In fact, I'm just going to transition then right into my letter grade, which I really had a hard time on this one. And I think what I'm about to say might shock. I'm going to go with an A- on this one. Splatoon 1 is just that strong. And Kid Icarus, while not a good video game and the soundtrack isn't very big, yeah, first party Nintendo wise, Kirby's Adventure is the only thing I can think of off the top of my head that I'm like, yeah, that's better than this. Yeah, like I like them both. Obviously, Splatoon 1 is the much bigger thing here, but Kid Icarus, it's fine. It's good.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that we're on a streak of me coming in lower than you. I think this might be like the 3rd or 4th episode in a row where I've been lower than you. I've really done the WWE heel turn here in recent months. But yeah, I was gonna go B+ with this one. I like the Kid Icarus soundtrack. I have no like fondness really for the game, but my appreciation for Kid Icarus has grown over the years, but Splatoon was the one that really kind of elevated me towards. I think this would have been, if we're just talking Kid Icarus, I think I would be like low B, high C, but Splatoon's inclusion doesn't quite get me into A, but it gets, I'm close. I'm just a little under you, I think.
Yeah, B+, A-, that was where I was like debating for like a full hour earlier. Yeah, you've just never been the same ever since Shy Guy called you out for not grading harshly enough.
it really it made me reevaluate my entire thought process, and I really held myself. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. That's how I look at this.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm just running rampant with unchecked power. I'm going to add even more Sean Capri laughs to the intro bit and stuff. This is true. This is Dancing Mad right now.
Yeah, this is the Dancing Mad moment right here.
Yeah. As a warning, we are not playing Dancing Mad on this episode of the podcast.
Yeah, people are going to be mad about that, I think. Yeah.
Who has 18 minutes for that? Dancing Mad is cool, but come on. Speaking of that, let's go on our next break. We've got Kids Run Through the City and Terra's theme, both from the Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster, and we will be back. that was Kids Run Through the City. That's just a pleasant title for
Yeah.
and Terra's theme. So, Kids Run Through the City. This is just kind of the main recurring town theme of Final Fantasy VI. Back in the Super Nintendo days, they couldn't make like a unique town theme for every town, you know?
Right.
So you hear this one a lot, but it's fine because I quite like it. I don't have that many notes on it beyond. I really do like it when Uematsu leans into like the Celtic vibes.
Mm.
I feel like that mostly he only gets to do that with like town themes, generally speaking. But yeah, I don't know. I really liked it here. Um, the only real anecdote I have about Kids Run Through the City is my first encounter with any version of the song was off of the Potion Relaxing with Final Fantasy CD I got at an
Oh,
import
yeah.
shop. Yeah, we
Mhm.
talked about it on the early 2000s episode, actually. They had a whole bunch of Final Fantasy VI songs on there, but they had a rearranged version of this that was on there. That was the one that stuck out to me the most. And I'd only played Final Fantasy 7 and 10 at that point.
Mm.
And I was also right at the age where I was like really like hungering for more information. Again, the internet is in its like early days, like it's not anywhere near the same to what it is now. You can't just like find stuff out as easily as you can now. Though the world is actively making the internet worse basically every day. It is much harder to Google things now than it was 15 years ago. But
Yeah.
um so I'd played 7 and 10 and I loved them both. And I kept hearing like in EGM and other like game magazines and forum posts that like, yeah, but 6 is the best one. And so like I really wanted to play 6, but I didn't have the means to do so beyond emulation. I wasn't really emulating stuff back then. So like Kids Run Through the City was kind of my main, like this made me wonder, it set my imagination on fire kind of like what Final Fantasy 6 is. Like I'm hearing all these superlatives about it and in particular the soundtrack, and this is like the thing that I'm hearing, off of this like relaxation CD, it's not like the battle themes or whatever. So yeah, it's weird. Despite not playing Final Fantasy VI for so long, or so I didn't play it for a long time after, this is the song of the soundtrack I have the most nostalgia for because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is an interesting one because as you mentioned, like it's real cozy. It's like just your classic like town theme sort of thing. And it has a lot of those like kind of, I don't know, standards. Like there's a very comforting like flute in here, swelling strings and stuff like this. It's like your quintessential like cozy town theme. But one thing that is special to me about this song in particular, I associate it probably most closely to South Figaro in the game in particular, because I think that if I remember right, in the second half of the game, like in the World of Ruin, I think that's actually the only place where this song still plays. And there's a sense of like, and this in general, I think is kind of a theme of the second half of the game in the World of Ruin and stuff anyways. But there's this theme of like the sort of, I don't know, like love's ability and life's ability to persist, And I feel like that's what this song really kind of like sends up, like this kind of feeling of like, even in the face of like oppression, despair, the ruination of the world around me, we still hold on and we still kind of like find our way through with each other, with love, and with, things like family or found family or whatever. And I think that's the game, I think, has a ton of themes, but I think that's certainly one of them. And I think it's really kind of like accentuated with this song. This is one of those songs that like always gets me, it leaves me with like a hopeful feeling. And it's funny because like, yeah, like when I think of this song, I don't think about it in the context of like the first, like the more, I guess, pleasant portions of the game. I think about it almost peeking through the unpleasant portions of the game,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I understand. I think I have like that basic exact note written for a different song later, which is funny. Um, the kids run through the city. The world is ended, but the kids still run through the city is
Right.
kind of how I view
Totally.
it. Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of themes here, and in the game, I mean, in general, and again, we'll talk about it a little bit, but I find that, like, yeah, because of limitations on like hardware and cartridge size and blah blah blah, that like there isn't enough dialogue and like written text in the game
Sure.
to like support most of it satisfactorily. And like again, not all the times. There are times where I do find what they're saying to be maybe profound is too strong of a word for like a Super Nintendo RPG, but like what they're saying, I agree with and find it to be well written, but unfortunately, those moments don't always come through. But yeah, the music is where Final Fantasy games like sing to me. Not that
Right.
wasn't meant to be a pun, I guess, but um, yeah, like those what you're talking about. Yeah, that is absolutely what the feelings that are evoked within me with hearing this song or other songs on the soundtrack. And it's again to the credit of the soundtrack just how successfully it nails that aspect despite like the actual text of the game not being able to live up to it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and it's funny, and I swear I'm not trying to become like some, parody of myself over the course of the show, but one thing that's always one thing that's always important to me when we like choose to talk about a game or a soundtrack on the show is that I want to make sure that I have something to like actually say about it, like
Hmm.
it's the reason that we haven't done like Ocarina of Time or something, cuz I don't know that I have anything new to add to that conversation. But like what's kind of nice about Final Fantasy VI and like thinking about Final Fantasy VI through the lens of like living in the world today, a song like Kids Run Through the City kind of hits different in 2025 than it did even in, whatever, 94, whenever this came out.
Hmm.
Because like, like it is hard not to feel like we're not living in a world of ruin of our own, right now.
Yeah.
And it does remind me of these little moments in my life that I enjoy. And like if I thought of my life through that context, I could almost hear this song underscoring all of that, like when I have these little fleeting moments of happiness or love or life in this world of ruin, I can kind of imagine this song, and it yeah, it does. Like I think it does kind of send up that feeling in a way that the game with all of its 90s limitations maybe couldn't.
Seth, you're telling me RPGs are political? You're telling me
Hey,
that the
Final Fantasy VI is actually very political.
it is. Well, I bring that up as a parody because I remember people complaining that Final Fantasy VII remake got too political. I'm like, what? The remake of the game where a corporation is sucking the
The
literal soul out
literal
of the
life.
planet to
Yeah.
make fossil fuel energy? Like, that game is too political.
Yeah, well, Final Fantasy VI is really, is the game that kind of cracked that stuff wide open, I think, in general. But certainly for me, like as a person, Final, and I'm not trying to put the cart too far in front of the horse here, but certainly for me, like playing this game as a kid was really like influential and really kind of like opened my eyes for maybe the first time in my life to the bad stuff that's in the world,
Hmm. Hmm.
and like the themes of this game I think really are really like it's not common for games even today, I think, to tackle some of the themes that this game does. And so I don't know, I've always really appreciated it for that.
Right. Yeah. I That's the thing too, is I don't want to, as much as I'm joking, I don't want it to come across like I'm trash talking the game, but I would love to have played this 30 years ago or 25 years ago. I
Right.
didn't get to have that experience, so I can only evaluate it through what it's doing for me now.
Right.
Um, but yes, I can totally imagine if this is like your first like big RPG as a child, on like this music and those visuals blaring out of your like 27-inch Sony TV, like that would have been mind blowing to me back in the day. In the same way that like when I did play Final Fantasy VII as a 7-year-old, that was mind blowing to me at the time. So I can only imagine how cool it was to play this at its original release back in '94. But unfortunately, I have to imagine it. Let's talk a little bit about Terra's theme. And I say a little bit because, like, what can anyone really say about Terra's
Right.
theme? This is like the most well known, I assume, song that we've ever broke for on this podcast.
Maybe, yeah, it would definitely be in the conversation. I mean, that like this coupled with Awakening, which is kind of a reprise of this theme, like are the Final Fantasy VI songs. I think like that just kind of is like that it's the Final Fantasy VI song. I would say, yeah,
Yeah, and to that end, like it's the Final Fantasy VI song, and all the old Final Fantasy heads, most of them consider six to be the Final Fantasy game. So it's like the song of the series that is known for its soundtrack, you know?
yeah,
So like that's what we're talking about here. So we mentioned it before, but on top of it being Terra's theme, it serves as the opening track of the game when you're seeing the Magitech armor soldiers marching on Narshe at the beginning. If you don't know what Magitech armor is, they're basically like rideable mechs, and they
right.
shoot out big magic lasers. And yeah, they're walking the snowfield slowly. Like you can really feel the weight of them in these like chunky 16-bit sprites as they're slowly making their way towards Narshe. The opening credits are going. Terra's theme is playing. The lights of Narshe are coming closer. Um, just one of the most striking JRPG openings ever. Um, Again, we talked about it a little bit, but like it is so iconic and cool. I can't imagine playing this back in '94, like what people would have been like thinking to themselves, especially, you know, like I assume a lot of people that played Final Fantasy 6 or 3 as it was known back then maybe didn't play Final Fantasy 2, or again 4 as it's actually known. And as someone that has played 4, the production values on 6 are such a huge step up over 4. It's ridiculous that they're on the
Yeah.
same system. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Just trying to get in the headspace of someone playing this game in 1994, it just must have been the coolest damn thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I was a kid when I played this game for the first time, but I definitely remember thinking, like, my overwhelming feeling playing this game, like, I was like, this is the greatest game ever made. Like, this is like
Yeah.
I was like, like, video games are never going to get better than this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It was not only when I kind of, like, really fell in love with RPGs, and I think we'd even played it, like, a little bit later than when it came out, but it was when I kind of fell in love with video games really on a deeper level in general because of all of like the themes of it and stuff, but like it got me. This is the first game I think that ever made me realize that video games could be more. I guess that's it. Like that could be more. Like that the video
Mm-hmm.
games could have like deeper reactions to them, and actually also that moments in Final Fantasy VI I think made me kind of appreciate video games as an art form and what video games can do uniquely in that art form, like and I'm sure we'll talk about individual moments as we go along, but like things like the opera scene, things like like finding out that you can save Shadow, like stuff like that can only be achieved in video games, you
Okay,
know.
but saving Shadow is a bunch of garbage in this game. You have to wait, like you're about to die, but you just have to sit there and wait until the last 5 seconds of a timer. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm saying the way you save Shadow in this game is stupid, but
So
Shadow is cool.
Well, so like on paper, yes, it's stupid. When we were kids, like when we were playing that game and like we found out that that was something you could do, it was amazing. It was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe like I just assumed that was how the story went."
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
like and I think that I had read something somewhere along the way that like Square had pivoted towards like really wanting their games to be like replayable because this is like the height of video game rentals and stuff, and they wanted to make Final Fantasy VI like as replayable as possible, and that's why the game has so much optional content in it. And so like I think the vast majority of the party members can be like skipped. Like I think you only need like I think you only need like 3 or 4 of the party members to even beat the game.
Yeah, when you're recruiting them back in the world of Ruin again, we'll talk about this later for anyone that doesn't understand. Yeah, I think you only need a couple to end
Right.
the game. Yeah.
Right, and so like the game is really really interesting from that point of view, but yeah, it was. I guess my point is like the like stuff like that created these cool moments, I guess, for me in the game. And I also, and again, we'll get more into this, but I really do love this game's characters, and Terra, I think, is probably my favorite
Mhm.
overall in terms of like, I don't know, not like her characterization, but like the arc of her story and kind of what, that character kind of means. And I think that Terra's theme does a really good job of like conveying the feeling of her character, of
Mhm.
like having that drum line and that kind of like, I don't know, uplifting vibe of that main melody. I feel like the song really captures this feeling of like reclaiming your power and like taking your own power back and realizing your potential, but at the same time, like the flute that's present in the song gives it a vulnerability, like a groundedness. And I don't know, like you can almost feel it really is the perfect character theme for Terra, because you can really feel through the song that Terra knows that she has a greater purpose, but still wants to cling to her own humanity, and deciding like kind of what her future means for herself, and knowing that she is more than just her purpose or whatever. And I don't know, I think all that's conveyed in the song. I also really love that the pixel remaster version of the song that y'all heard um, does that kind of like arpeggiated like backing melody on this kind of like clean electric guitar. And I don't know, like something about that I think just gives it like like a live instrumentation kind of feel. Like it
Mhm.
makes it feel, it gives it a rawness, that I really appreciate. I don't know, I just love this song. I love this version of this song. I love Terra as a character. And it's good stuff.
Yeah, most of, in fact, all my remaining notes were basically just less eloquent ways of what you just said. Um, yeah, I love it as a theme of Terra because yeah, it starts off like feeling kind of like dark and uncertain, and even like it's
Right.
got that military like beat to it
Yeah,
because
that little drum line. Yeah.
literally at the beginning of the game she's brainwashed into manning this Magitech armor along with Biggs and Wedge, and they have to get like the mind control crown off of her or whatever. And yeah, the way it transitions to being like more hopeful and even like soaring. And again, Terra at various points or later in the game, she literally can fly. Um, like she's yeah, it is a very good character theme for that character. The way it hits like not just the character's like thematic themes in the writing of the character, but also literally like plot beats in it with like the military march at the beginning and stuff.
Yeah.
And it is the overworld theme and the opening section of the game, and it works so well for all three. Like it is not hard to see why this song is like so beloved and renowned because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. It's just one of the great video game themes. And yeah, I it's funny. You and I have, even though we have different opinions on this game, we have very similar opinions on Final Fantasy X, which is my favorite Final Fantasy game.
Mm-hmm.
But and it's also my favorite Final Fantasy soundtrack, but for very different reasons, like it's interesting how, like, for you can say whatever you want about Final Fantasy as a franchise, but like the games in this franchise that I love for very, very different reasons. And Final Fantasy VI, I think, occupies a very particular place both in the franchise and in my head. And it's interesting that Terra's theme has been like kind of persistent through all of that. Like
Mm-hmm.
that this song has managed to kind of like become bigger than just the game it belongs to, So I don't know. I really appreciate that about it too.
Yeah, I always assumed the first Final Fantasy episode we would do would be 10, and then it just for various reasons it just ended up being
Worked out
6.
this way.
Which is totally fine. But yeah, 10 is also probably my favorite, though. A big part of the reason I was looking forward to playing this Pixel Remaster of 6 is because I played the Pixel Remaster of 5 like 2 years ago, and I had never played 5 before, and I really loved 5, and I just loved the soundtrack and the treatment that Pixel Remaster gave it. Um, I think it's by far the best pre 7 Final Fantasy. Like, it's not even a contest. And then I'm like, well, I can't wait to reevaluate 6 of the Pixel Remaster then. And then nope, I did not reevaluate it at all. If anything, I did reevaluate it, and I liked it even less because I didn't beat it this time, whereas I did beat it on the Super Nintendo Classic. But I think then let's start talking proper about Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI was originally released for the Super Nintendo April 2nd, 1994 in Japan, and October 11th, 1994 in the United States. Did not realize until researching this episode that this did not get localized in Europe at the time. I know a lot of Square stuff was missing Europe back then, like Mario RPG and whatever, but I don't know, it's interesting, like this is like the one where it felt like Square was trying to, like, hey, we're gonna make an effort to try and push RPGs, and this is like a big one, right?
Yeah.
On Western markets, I mean. So, yeah, it did not get localized in Europe at the time. This was released in America as Final Fantasy III. This is not that noteworthy. Like, nerds love bringing this up as like a trivia thing. They just didn't localize Final Fantasy 2 and 5 at the time, or 2, 3, and 5.
I hate that, man. Like, that, it's so annoying. Like, people are like, I think you mean Final Fantasy 3 originally. I'm like, dude, when I was a kid, we didn't care about that. We didn't even, like, think about it. Like, it was just Final Fantasy. I don't think I even, like, thought of it in that context when I was a kid at all. It wasn't until really the internet came around that people started being annoying about this.
Right. Like, it doesn't matter, especially, hey, guess what? The whole series is an anthology series. It literally, you can call this Final Fantasy 17 for all you want. It doesn't matter. It's still the same thing. Yeah, I don't know. I just get very annoyed by how pedantic people can be about that. But anyway, it's called Final Fantasy 6 now, besides, like, the SNES Classic version and whatever.
That was funny, right? Because they still had it as 3 in that, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I just assumed that's because that was, the whole product was built on nostalgia, so they wanted people to have that. That still has the old Ted Woolsey localization too, whereas they don't use that anymore, which I imagine we might touch on that like a little bit. I'm a fan of the Ted Woolsey translations, generally speaking. I think Frog speaking with like the Shakespearean English in Chrono Trigger is annoying, but that's about it. That's the only thing I don't like. Anyway, I mentioned before, turn-based RPGs hadn't really broken through into the mainstream outside of Japan yet, which is a big part of why so many RPGs got skipped over for localization back then, but also the pure amount of text in RPGs compared to like a Mario game or whatever just made that harder to pull off. So, RPGs really didn't blow up outside of Japan, in my opinion, until a combination of Final Fantasy VII and Pokemon.
Right.
And, that was still obviously a couple years away at this point. So Final Fantasy VI is operating in this weird area of like the hardcore of the hardcore gamers in the 90s are starting to recognize the potential of the genre and stuff, but it's still not in the mainstream yet. So Final Fantasy VI has this weird thing going on where like the old heads will tell you that it's the best Final Fantasy, but it's still somehow also underrated. For the it's this weird area, but hey, as a note, the Pixel remasters are available on like everything under the sun at this point, even mobile. So if you want to play any of the first Final Fantasy games, just play the Pixel remaster. Don't worry about it. Final Fantasy VI was directed jointly by Yoshinori Kitase and Hiroyuki Ito. The original series director, Hironobu Sakaguchi, had been promoted to an executive position at Square, so he was just a producer on this one, which I also didn't realize until researching this episode. Sakaguchi he gets like the Miyamoto credit of like everything Final Fantasy up to a certain point, whereas, he was already more hands-off at this point. Right now in 2025, Yoshinori Kitase, he is basically what Sakaguchi was. He is like this Final Fantasy series producer and like series steward today. After this, he would also go on to direct 7, 8, and 10, which he specifically cited those games as he wanted to have worlds in them that weren't so explicitly European fantasy inspired, which is what the series was before 7. And yeah, he did a great job, or the whole team did a great job. But I love like the more like kind of cross between cyberpunk and steampunk dystopia of
Yeah.
7. Obviously, like the Southeast Asia inspired 10 is like one of my favorite settings in a video game ever. So
Yeah.
it's cool that he was specifically going out of his way to like, hey, we should do something different even back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, it's a very ambitious game. Like it's a very bold game. Like, and it's interesting too because I've never played Final Fantasy 5 or 4 for that matter. But it is interesting that the game is kind of in two halves. That like I don't know, like there are a lot of, for better or for worse, like desperation pieces in Final Fantasy 6. Like in some way, Final Fantasy 6 feels like a game of two halves, not just because of the narrative, but also because of like the first half of the game feels a little bit more like a rigidly designed and like authored RPG, you know? And then the second half almost kind of leans into that like, you know, almost like Dragon Quest 3-ish like school of thought of kind of more free form, make your own story RPG kind of thing. Which I think is kind of interesting, and you know, maybe it plays well, maybe it doesn't, but I do think that they were going for something really bold and ambitious for this game, and it is interesting to sort of look at it as two halves, and it's interesting too that like that this is the one that Sakaguchi kind of went more hands off with, and maybe that's why some of that stuff ended up the way it did. Like maybe they were kind of like, hey, like we're the new guard, we need to do something cool here. Yeah, and I really appreciate that about it. And I also I think that Final Fantasy VI is interesting too because it kind of like pivoted away from the early Final Fantasy kind of tropes a little bit. Like it feels like it's a pretty direct bucking of some of the trends. There's a lot less crystals in this one, you know.
You're right. Wasn't thinking about that, but yeah, the plot of 5 and 4 like fully revolves around crystals, and yeah,
Right.
that is really not the case here at all.
Yeah. So just like 6 to me, and maybe this is one of the reasons it broke out so much, is that like it does feel like the most, I guess, indirect you know, entry up until that point. Like it feels like where the series kind of really let itself to really allowed itself to hang loose a little bit, I guess.
And yeah, we'll talk more about it in depth later, but I think a big part of that is like how unique each party member is, or at least starts off as.
Right.
Which is also what excites me about like whenever I start a new file in Final Fantasy 6. I'm like, oh yeah, Sabin. I'm so glad I finally got Sabin. He's like my go-to dude in the
Yeah.
early game. But then like by the end it doesn't matter because everyone's just casting Ultima anyway, which is a problem that I have with a lot of Final Fantasy games, not just this one to be fair. But yeah, also worth noting about Katase before we head off to the other director. He started off as an event scripter on like earlier Final Fantasy games, which my understanding is that is basically like the cutscene equivalent for 8 and 16-bit games. Like, there aren't like in Final Fantasy 7, that game became known for its cutscenes, but in the 8 and 16-bit games, it's not cutscene so much as it is just like dialogue and characters moving around the screen that you aren't in control of, but that is like where most of the story is told, right? So yeah,
Right.
my understanding is Katase is generally more of like the story planner when it comes to this duo of directors, and then Hiroyuki Ito was the battle system designer for like every entry of the series that he worked on, which makes sense because he's credited as the battle system designer for Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, Tactics 8, 9, and 12.
Even Tactics. Wow.
Yes, which is very, very interesting. I wasn't aware of that either. He is also the creator of ATB, or Active Time Battle System,
Wow.
which from Final Fantasy 4 through 9, that was like what the system or what the series was known for, right?
Yeah.
And so if you don't know, ATB is Final Fantasy games, these old ones, they're turn-based, but there is a real-time element going on where like you are watching meters go up, and when your meter is full, that's when your character can select an action. By by default, in some of the games you can set this off, but in some of them not. But by default, they're all set so while you're selecting an action, your other characters' timers are still going up and enemy timers are still going up. So there is this kind of like panicky aspect that they're trying to tap into of like, hey, while you're looking for like Fyraga, you're still getting your ass beat by this wolf or whatever, right? Like there's this level of they're trying to have a tiny bit of like real time elements in here in the turn-based battles to make it a little bit more interesting. And like I said, this was the standard for Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. They did go fully turn-based with 10. You know, I do think 10 has like the best battle system in the series still to
I
this
agree.
day.
Yeah.
But that's not to take anything away from ATB, because ATB is a genius invention.
Yeah, I don't think I realized that. That's really cool. I mean, it's iconic. Like that definitely is a bit of a turning point for RPGs in general. Is that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's cool.
And I really quickly just wanted to touch on the Pixel remasters. We've talked about it or mentioned it a couple times, but these are kind of remasters, like mostly just like visual and audio overhauls of the first 6 Final Fantasy games. Again, they touch up the graphics, remastered the soundtracks, they add quality of life stuff, like general ones, but also ones that are unique to each specific game. They were originally released for PC and smartphone, which upset a lot of people, including me. I was like, what are we doing that
Yeah.
smartphones are getting priority over console on this? They started releasing in 2021, 6 being the last one released in February 2022 on PC and smartphone. And then eventually down the road, all 6 of the Pixel remasters came to PlayStation, Switch, and Xbox. You can buy like a physical version with all 6 of them on there, but it's like pretty expensive for 6
Yeah.
Pixel games, and like 2 of them are good. Kind of not to
Sure.
be
Yeah.
super rude, but yeah, it's still cool that they did it. And if you're gonna play Final Fantasy games nowadays, unless you're some weird like you want to emulate the old versions or you want mods or ROM hacks or whatever, these are probably your go-to bet to play them. But anyway, I did want to ask some general questions, and you kind of touched on this a little bit already, but like, yeah, what was your first exposure to Final Fantasy VI, and like what has been your series exposure since then or before then? Just general Final Fantasy knowledge base for you.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's funny. I feel like I must have played some kind of Final Fantasy something before
Mm-hmm.
getting to 6, but I can't, like, I know that we played 6 later because my friend Justin got it, and I think what it was is I think he ended up getting it like on, I think his mom got it for him. I think it was on sale somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is back in the era of when like RPGs would be, I think this game was like $80 or $90 when it came out. And so his mom, like, I think got this for him on a sale in like the lead up to Final Fantasy VII. I think we must have played this in like 95 or 96 or something like that, not
Mm-hmm.
when it originally came out. And anyway, I do feel like, and I don't know like which one it was, but I do feel like I Final Fantasy was at least a known quantity to me before playing it, but this is still in my mind what I consider my first Final Fantasy game, like the one
Mm-hmm.
that I still kind of consider to be my first real exposure to the series. And so yeah, it's a special game to me from that respect. It also is. I'm pretty sure I had played Super Mario RPG before playing this. And Mario RPG is kind of what I always credit with like the game that kind of made me, I don't know, aware of RPGs at all,
Mm-hmm.
and made me start enjoying them. But Final Fantasy VI was the game that made me really start like loving them. And from here, like we would come into, this was kind of like, it represented almost a divergent point between my friend Justin and I, where from like PS1 onwards, he became like the PlayStation guy and I became like the Nintendo guy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's another funny thing too, because I think that I joke sometimes that like my friends and I invented Let's Plays in the late 90s, you know, because that's how we like enjoyed games. Like the idea of like let's plays now where it's like people hanging out and playing games together and watching each other play games, and like that was how we played games back then. You know, like I would go over to his house and we would do full playthroughs and we would almost like continue the story together. And is it you driving this one or is it me driving this one? And we played, you know, Final Fantasy 6, 7, Legend of Dragoon, like stuff like Wild Arms we played that way. You know, like that was kind of the way that we played video games, was almost that kind of like let's play style all the way back then. And I remember having that thought, like I was pretty young playing this and being like, oh man, like I first of all feel like I should not be allowed to be playing this because this feels like a grown-ups game or something. And Justin was a few years older than me anyway, but I remember being so like, yeah, like I felt like my love of video games had really matured from that point on. It was a turning point for not just me, not just RPGs, not just Final Fantasy, but me and video games. I touched on that a little bit earlier, but yeah, I think from there, I've played pretty much every Final Fantasy from 6 on in some respect or another, with the exception of like the MMOs, you know, but I've played all of the other ones for the most part, and it really hasn't been until recently. Like I haven't played 16 yet, but I think I've played every other single player, like post Final Fantasy 6 single player Final Fantasy. I think I've played since then. And yeah, some of my favorite, like, you know, 10 is my favorite, 6 is up there for me. I love Final Fantasy 9. You know, I have a real fondness for 15 also. I feel like I'm the only person that likes that game, but yeah, those are some of my favorites, I guess.
I was very interested in 15 at the time, and then I played one of the demos. I just noped out of there. I don't know what it was. I think I wanted the battle system to be just Kingdom Hearts battle system, and then it wasn't that. And I'm just like,
it's like a
I'm
half
good.
step away from being that. Yeah.
It is like it is close to that, but like the ways I wanted it to be Kingdom Hearts battle system, it was not that. So then again, I would still like to go back and play it at some point, just to say I have. I did play 16, and I did like it for what it was, but it doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy at all. And that's not me being like again a pedantic like upset nerd online. It just for me, it just straight up is like, yeah, 16. It's a Devil May Cry game basically.
It's like a character action game. Yeah,
yeah, and like even the story that's there, like the few things that 16 does well from a story perspective, it usually throws it away at some point. Like it starts off being like a more Game of Thrones inspired like political thing, but with magic, which is cool. I think that's actually a cool direction for the series to take, but then halfway through they throw it away so that you can kill God again, which is also cool too. I like killing God in RPGs, but yeah, like I've not touched the entire series. Like in terms of beating them, I've only beaten 4, 5, 6, 7, and 10, and then the 7 remake and rebirth, and the 16, I guess. So I'm not like the biggest Final Fantasy fan, and if I'm honest, like the more of them I play, the less like good opinion I have of the series. Kinda, if that makes sense. But like again, I love 5 and 10. I have a lot of love for 7 and 7 remake and rebirth. Genuinely excited to play 7 remake for like the 5th time on Switch 2. Like
I'm looking forward to it too. Yeah,
like that ended up being one of the things I was most excited for coming out of that Switch 2 Direct. I'm just like, why? I could just play it on my PS5 right now. But I don't know. I really like 7 Remake and Rebirth. But yeah, 7 was the first one I played. Though, like you, Mario RPG is the first RPG I ever played and introduced me to what RPG even meant. And it's interesting, yeah, because that was developed by Square, and Mario RPG really kind of feels like easy Final Fantasy or simplified Final Fantasy with a Mario skin over it. So you can see why like they all were like, yeah, this is a good introductory RPG, because it is. It's the perfect, like, if you like Mario RPG and you want like a little more meat on the bone, then yeah, jump into something like Final Fantasy 6. Yeah, I don't know. My love of the series has like come and gone over the years. Like Final Fantasy 10 was like a life-changing game to me, and I still think about it like on a weekly basis. And the series just never hit that again for me.
Right.
And how much of that is just like it was a time and place thing? How much of it was because I was 13 at the time? Like I guess I'll never know, but I really love Final Fantasy X. Speaking of like the series at large, let's talk about Nobuo Uematsu for a bit. That said, as hinted before, like this is way too big of a subject for us to properly cover in like a section of this episode.
Yeah.
So like we're not gonna go over every single thing he's done, but again, it is worth mentioning that he was the lead composer on the first 9 mainline Final Fantasy entries. He was also the lead composer on 10, but there are other people that worked on it with him. He contributed some to 11. He still contributes like themes here and there to Final Fantasy games. He did like the main vocal themes for Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth. I think he contributed something to 14 at some point. He still works in the industry. He's just been freelance since 2004. Do you have any like specifically notable things that he's done besides the ones I've listed here? I've listed Blue Dragon, Fantasian, most recently Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, which I know you and I are both currently obsessed over, and my wife is playing in the background behind me right now. But we'll talk about that, I think, on the next episode of the show in depth, Fantasy Life I. But was there any other like games you wanted to note here of his, or like any specific soundtracks or songs that you wanted to shout out here?
I don't necessarily think so. I mean, I will say when it comes to Uematsu, in particular, he definitely is like the first, I think, video game composer that I was like aware of, mostly because of like his work with Final Fantasy VI. Like Final Fantasy VI was like one of the big reasons it's cool that we're covering it on the show is it was also kind of the game that deepened my love of video game music, and I really took notice of the music in this game, and it was stuff like this and Chrono Trigger and stuff where I'm like, oh dude, like who did the music for this? Like I can't wait to see in the credits like who did the music for this, even as a kid. Like I wanted to know. I was getting into, this is a very quick tangent. The first time I ever started thinking about like the people making the things that I like was weirdly enough when I watched The Lion King. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with The Lion King. I thought that I wanted to be an artist. I used to like put in the VHS and like pause it and like put paper over my TV screen and like trace over the like the stills and like the scenes in the game or in the movie rather, and like pretend like I was a Disney animator or something. I wanted to do that for a long time. And I remember watching that and wanting to know like the names of the people that drew Scar and Simba and stuff. Like I wanted to watch the credits, and I'm a kid, watching this stuff. And so that's kind of the point in my life where I associate like thinking about the artists and like the people that actually made the thing that I was enjoying, because before then I was just a dumb kid and I assumed that games were made, in some magic realm and they just kind of existed, and I never thought about developers or whatever.
They just pop into existence. Yeah.
Yeah. One of my biggest pet peeves is listening to people that talk about video games in like a retrospective context and say, yeah, I was like 4 years old playing Zelda, and I was thinking like, what Nintendo was doing at this? I'm like, no, you weren't, dude. You were like 4 years old. You know what I mean? Yeah. That always annoys me. But at a certain point, I did cross that bridge of like, oh, people make this stuff. And so Uematsu, like I remember having that moment playing stuff like Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger when I'm a kid, and I'm like, oh, yeah, like who was it that did the music for this? Because I really like the music in this. And that was when I learned what Uematsu's name was. I learned what, Mitsuda's name was and stuff. And yeah, so it really kind of began my lifelong love of video game music in general. And it kind of does start with Uematsu. I mean, he's unquestionably one of the most iconic video game composers of all time. If not the most, frankly.
Yeah, he probably is the most. Yeah.
Yeah, and he also seems like a cool dude. Like he also like he just seems kind of cool. Like he goes to conventions and stuff sometimes and like engages with people, and there's funny videos of him, and like there's Sungwon Cho Pro CD. There's a funny video of him bribing him to say that Final Fantasy IX is the best Final Fantasy game. And he like went along with it. He seems like a cool guy. Like Uematsu just seems like a good dude.
He comes across as like a hippie, and like he's
Right.
got like a radish farm in the Japanese mountains somewhere.
Totally.
Like that's
Yeah.
But then occasionally he still finds time to make like really cool music. Like genuinely Hollow off of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Genuinely a really good, like beautiful vocal
Yeah.
theme and stuff. I really loved it. Yeah, it's funny that you bring all that up. Like this being the time period with Lion King and Final Fantasy VI where you start thinking about the actual artist making the art, because yeah, for me it actually was Final Fantasy VII's soundtrack. Like it straight up was the next game in the series, and Uematsu's work there. And I remember very vividly in like 7th grade, so a few years after I'd had that awakening to artists making the art, but my band teacher, who I really liked at the time, he would sometimes like play music for us and see like, hey, like point out what you like about it and stuff, blah blah blah. And he played One Winged Angel.
Wow.
And I'm like, Mr. Lundy, you know Final Fantasy VII? He gave me like a little wink. He's like, yeah, man.
That's so sick.
I'm
good
with you,
teacher. Yeah, good teacher. I like that.
Yeah, it's also cool. Like I think I was the only one in the room that knew what it was, but it just, yeah, it's cool. Like back in the early 2000s, that I had a teacher that was like even trying to like, put like I remember we played like the Spider-Man TV theme in band class. Like he was trying to find ways for us to have fun with it, not just playing like the same old stuff in band class, right? So yeah, I have very vivid memories of like that period. And there were a few years where I thought I wanted to make music and stuff. That's why I took band class and stuff,
right?
Largely because of Uematsu. So I think it's probably safe to say there would not be a bit harmony without Uematsu.
Probably not. Yeah.
Like it just influenced both of us so much individually, and also he just had such an impact on video games at large. So at some point we could even do like a Uematsu episode. We keep talking about like a artist specific episode. That'd be kind of cool, but maybe we should start off smaller than Uematsu and like
yeah, start at the top.
yeah. Let's talk a bit then about Final Fantasy VI, like as a game and stuff, before we take a break. So again, I talked before about how like Final Fantasy's main currency that it has to spend with people is its production value. Again, you can compare how Final Fantasy looks, any Final Fantasy on the 8 and 16-bit systems, how that looks compared to any of like their competitors, and like it's not even close. I do run into people that like, I don't like the chibi characters of the old Final Fantasy games. I'm like, okay. Like I don't even really. That's just part of the art style. I don't. They're still like well produced character sprites.
Well, yeah. I mean, even like the portraits kind of reveal like what they actually kind of look like. It was just a limitation of the hardware. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's not a big deal, and also that has nothing to do with the production value. That's just the style they went for. It's fine. We're all gonna be fine. But yeah, that production value. That's kind of like Final Fantasy as a series has like leaned further and further and further into that. Again, we talked about 7 earlier, but like 7 was a breakout hit in the mainstream outside Japan because the commercials just used the CG cutscenes. Like they literally did not show you any actual gameplay, which is fine because the actual like gameplay of Final Fantasy 7, like when you're not in a battle, when you're in the overworld and whatever, everything looks like half melted Lego blocks and like everyone is super deformed. Like you don't like chibi sprites? Well, let me show you chibi polygons because that looks so much worse than chibi sprites. But yeah, that emphasis on the cutscenes, like that is what brought them so much success in the West and like really busted the genre out. Again, I was 7 years old when Final Fantasy VII came out, and I saw those commercials. I'm like, I want this for Christmas. That was my main Christmas gift that year, and I had no idea what I was getting into. I didn't even understand how to save for like a year. I was too young to try and figure that out, But 6 is like where it really feels like they started going for it in that regard. And again, to me, the problem is I think so much of Final Fantasy VI, what makes it memorable is like their set piece moments, which are undeniably cool and impressive
Yeah.
for 1994, but they end up feeling like very, very, very empty calories to me in 2025. And I would also apply that to like how huge the cast of characters is.
Mm.
Um, there are 14 party members, like permanent party members. There's more temporary ones. Those are Terra, Locke, Edgar, Sabin, Cyan, Gao, Celis, Setzer, Strago, Realm, Shadow, Mog, Gogo, and Umaru. Not only do all these characters like they have their own like plot lines and stuff. Well, I guess Umaru doesn't. He's just a Yeti for some
Is a
reason. He just
Yeti.
joins your party. But
Yeah, his story is mostly just kind of like associated with like Mog and the Moogles.
yeah,
Yeah.
he hangs out with Mog, which is cool. I like that Mog, my favorite character, has like a pet Yeti for no reason. But
Yeah.
so all these characters besides Umaru have their own like story and motivations and stuff. But they also each have their own specific battle mechanic that is unique to them. So Locke is a thief, so he's the only one that can steal or whatever. Sabin, because Street Fighter was popular at the time, you have to do Street Fighter button inputs to do his different like karate attacks,
So cool.
which is super
Yeah.
cool. I don't want that to sound dismissive because I love the Blitz inputs. I think
Yeah.
that is part of what makes him my favorite like battle character in the game.
Sure.
Oh yeah, Mog is the Geomancer, which I love Geomancer in like any kind of RPG. I love that class, even though he, if I'm being objective, it's not very good. But also, this game isn't that hard, especially if you grind. So like, Mog never leaves my party once I get him. But yeah, like I said, there are so many damn set pieces in this game, and a lot of them are cool. Like you'll be fighting, Ultros on a raft going down this river, or you're
Shout outs
fighting
to
like
Ultros, dude.
Ultros rules,
Yeah.
or you'll be fighting on airships, and then you'll be blasted off the airship, and then you continue the fight as you're falling down, or you're fighting on
Yeah.
waterfalls. Like that is all undeniably cool given that it's a Super Nintendo RPG, but again, it contributes for me to this like very scattershot approach of like the story moves at such a weird pace and it feels blindingly fast at times, but like stupidly so because like I think of when early in the game you there's three separate like campaigns, like the characters get separated and you have to play as like Locke in one, you play as like Terra and Edgar in another, and then Sabin in the other. And Sabin's in particular is so all over the place. Like he meets up with Shadow, then they go meet up with Cyan, and then Kefka poisons the water supply and kills all these innocent
Yeah.
people. And then you're going to the Veld and meeting Gao, and then you're going up a mountain, and then you're going down a mountain, and then you're going down a waterfall, and then you're going down the Serpent Trench and going across the entire ocean. It is nonsense. It feels real bad to me. Like that was where the game started losing me. So I'm like, what the hell is even happening in this story right now? And again, it's not like I'm some dumb kid anymore. Like this is full on. I'm in my mid 30s, and what is this kind of thing?
Sure. Yeah. That's one of the reasons that I'm kind of the most interested to replay it now, because I am curious how that stuff would hit me now. When I was a kid, and even when I replayed it on Super Nintendo Classic, I was like, this rules. I was like, this is this is what I like. Like, yeah, just keep giving me more. If the game was just all disparate set pieces, I'd be cool with that, dude. So I would be interested to see how that hits me now. I also think that like at least part of that is part of the game's kind of like design ethos of like, I don't know, wanting to feel like this literary thing that does kind of like, I don't know, take you from one beat to the next, and then at a certain point allows you to kind of create those beats for yourself, which I do think introduces inherent pacing problems, because it does again introduce like a level of openness, especially in the game's back half, that can just totally grind things to a halt if you want them to. I think that even extends to the game's battle mechanics in some ways, where like like, yeah, the game is kind of a broken mess,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of respects. And you kind of touched on this earlier, but at a certain point, once like Espers and Magicite get involved, then yeah, a lot of the like individuality of the characters ends up getting washed away because everybody can ostensibly learn to do the same things. But at the same time, what that does kind of allow for is it allows you to kind of like make your own fun with your own party compositions, and do the game allows you to do some truly like buck wild stuff. Like, I think you can literally, if you grind enough and have the right setups, like one turn kill Kefka, like at the end,
Mm-hmm.
like literally before any of even like before he even gets to like another phase or something like that. And so what it kind of ends up becoming, and I remember this, like, again, this like level of replayability, it became this thing that like it created like a sort of experimental nature of like, I wonder if I can do that in this game, and what's cool about Final Fantasy VI is they know that they're getting you into that mindset with how loose the game can be, both narratively and mechanically. Like, it makes you think like, yeah, man, I wonder what happens like if I fight that sandworm and like he eats me. Like what happens if I do that? And it's like, yeah, dude, like if you do that, there's a dungeon in that sandworm, and that's where
Mm-hmm.
you find Go-Go. Like, stuff like that is cool. Like when you get the airship, it's like, yeah, I wonder what happens like if I go back to this place. Like if I go back to some of these old locations now that the world state has been changed. I don't know. Like, the game, I think, sacrifices a lot, narratively and mechanically, for that feeling, but there's, again, it's been, almost 10 years at this point somehow since I've fully replayed it, but that always ends up being something that I end up coming around to appreciating about it. But again, I don't know. Like, I'm here in my mid 30s now, and like, I don't have all the time in the world to sit there and replay and experiment with games like I did when I was a kid, So
Mm-hmm.
like, if I take that as a piece now, as like a cohesive work, maybe I don't find it so cohesive or enjoyable. So
Well, and yeah, to be clear, I do. Most of the set pieces are cool, right? Like, again, fighting like some robot things or whatever on the airship and then falling off and continuing the fight while falling. That rules. Like, I I
yeah,
genuinely like that. Or like anytime Ultra shows up is usually a pretty good time.
yeah,
Um, like the set pieces that are here are good. It's just that it feels like there's way too many of them, and like they're sacrificing storytelling and whatever for the sake of like, oh, we can cram in like a mode 7 underwater like 20 seconds here for no reason kind of thing.
sure, yeah,
Um and again, I understand like this game is a product of when it was made and like what they were trying to impress upon their audience and stuff. So this isn't me like fully judging the game. Like I've played it and beaten it and I like it well enough. It became like a slog to play through at a certain point. But it is worth mentioning like explicitly. We touched on it before, but like halfway through the game, the main villain, or who ends up being the main villain, Kefka, ends up like doing the bad guy thing, and like the world actually gets ruined. Like it becomes the world of ruin. And that's kind of like the ultimate set piece, right? Because like literally the world gets kind of, if not fully destroyed, pretty messed up. Like everything,
yeah,
like the geography has changed and shifted, and like cracks in the earth have opened up, and like everyone gets separated and stuff. And it is a super super cool and memorable moment. It just I don't know, it didn't do much for me here. Whereas, and we'll save it for after the break. There are moments that do it for me here that I think are still quite good and effective, but again, it tends to be the more subtle approach to things as opposed to like literally the world ending kind of stuff.
sure, yeah, sure. I have a lot more to say about that, I think, after the break. Yeah.
Did you want to touch on anything in regards to like the gameplay? Because I imagine after this break, we're gonna just be talking about like memories and story and stuff. But was there anything that you wanted to touch on now, gameplay wise?
um I don't know. I mean, it's funny because like that part of the game is the part, like, when I think back to Final Fantasy VI, um the gameplay and like the combat is not really where my heart is,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
there are some like cool, little gameplay things, and most of it is just like thinking about how broken some of that stuff is. Like I do remember doing stuff like when we were kids, like just grinding and getting our characters like so strong, and having all these crazy like setups and stuff like this. Yeah, I don't know. Like I guess I will say, and this is kind of more tied to a story moment also, so maybe this is best saved to be touched on further after the break, but they do some interesting stuff gameplay wise that is not specifically just combat. Like there's the moment like after Celis wakes up and like she's kind of told like, hey, like the world is the way it is, and like animals can't even like live, in this world, and like if you go out and try to fight like any of the animals, they do just die, like the combat like starts properly, but then they just die. And that it's a cool way. Like the game does this in a couple of different ways, but it's a neat way of like, I don't know, like using the gameplay or combat context to enhance like the tone and flavor of the world. I think the game does a really good job of that, and some of the cool like set pieces are also involved with that. Again, I'm sure we'll talk more about stuff like the opera scene after the break, but like that is a long, like 10-minute interactive opera scene. Like it's like that's the sort of stuff at the gameplay level that is only achieved through the medium of video games, and that was the kind of stuff that I really came to appreciate about it. But yeah, I don't know. I think you kind of touched on it earlier, but at a certain point, if you're playing the game at its most kind of busted, it's like, yeah, you are just going to kind of cast Ultima with everybody and that's fine, and get your Atma weapon or whatever it's called and just go from there.
It just sucks because like when I first get Mog before like the game is busted wide open, like, yeah, I like giving him the relic that lets him become a dragoon, and then like he does dragoon stuff. I love Mog, I love Moogles, and I love dragoons. Those are three steadfast things that you can know about me that will always be true. Is I like Mog, I like Moogles, I like dragoons. So being able to make Mog the Moogle into a dragoon is awesome, but then like it doesn't feel like in the World of Ruin there's any point to having him do that. Not just because like it's not optimal, but because it's actually suboptimal, and it actually is bad to do that. Like the game, it feels like the game doesn't want me to play that way anymore, even though I like playing that way. So obviously I could just brute force it and keep doing it, but at a certain point it loses its appeal, I guess is what I mean when like I don't like the way in which it is busted. But again, that's not a Final Fantasy VI specific problem. That's kind of a problem with most Final Fantasy games. I find even 10, if you grind out everything, every character is just the same anyways. It literally becomes the same thing there too, just they deliver it in a different flavor. But yeah, let's go on a break real quick. That was a pretty long section. We've got Searching for Friends and the Decisive Battle. This is the World of Ruin overworld theme, or at least it eventually becomes so in Searching for Friends. And then the Decisive Battle, which is the standard boss theme in the game. And we will be right back. And that was Searching for Friends and The Decisive Battle. I should have mentioned these are both the Pixel Remaster versions. I swear we're going to hear some Super Nintendo stuff in a little bit. So like I said, Searching for Friends, this is mostly the overworld theme in the second half of the game, in the World of Ruin, after Kefka is won. I don't have too many notes on this one. I just really love how hopeful it was. This is one of the ones that like got me when I was listening to it. Like
Yeah.
Obviously me and just about anyone else more so associate Terra's theme with Final Fantasy VI, and especially when it comes to like overworld themes. But like this is the song that I had the note for about like this is like light piercing through the darkness vibes, right? Because like
Right.
the whole plot of the second half of the game is like you as Celis, you start gathering your friends. You're searching for friends. You're trying to reunite the whole crew so you can go on
Getting the
and
band back together. Yeah.
right, exactly. That's what the whole second half of the game is, which is cool. I love like that kind of tone, right? Like I forget, it's been like what, years at this point? Like Celis was asleep
I
for
think
years or
a year.
something?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think Celis was asleep for a year. Yeah.
And like seeing what people have been getting up to in that time is interesting, and like who has kind of given up versus who is still fighting in their own way is already kind of inherently cool to
Right.
me. Yeah, I know. I just really love this one. Like this, I genuinely got emotional listening to this, especially at like 117, where the song starts getting like a bit more bombastic and full. Like, despite the fact that I've done so much complaining about Final Fantasy VI this podcast, this song and that specific 117 mark, like that's what I like about RPGs in general.
Yeah.
Like, I love that tone that they're able to hit because they're more long form than other games and more story oriented than most other games. They're able to do these moments well, even if more modern RPGs can do it better than Final Fantasy VI can, but that's just more so because of like hardware limitations and stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that this song has that it's the perfect cross section of like excitement, adventure, hopefulness, because yeah, like it really does feel like you're combing through a wasteland for any little bit of hope that you can find or something, like especially when you're like flying around in the overworld, like it really does feel that way. It also has a sense of like urgency to it, like I don't know. There's a sense of like, man, we really like we need to get this together and we need to figure this out. Yeah, the instrumentation on the Pixel Remaster version is amazing. Like the bass line in this goes crazy. It's amazing. Like there's the brass section in there. There's some good Horn Boy stuff in this Pixel Remaster soundtrack for sure.
Surprisingly, the words Horn Boys have not crossed our lips this entire time because there's a lot of good Horn Boys in here.
A lot of good stuff in here. Yeah, great brass section, great strings, especially coming in near the end. And man, it's great. And it definitely, I think, gives, we'll talk about this more in a second, but there's a real potential for the tone of the back half of the game, especially the way that you're properly introduced to it, to be like real bleak. And in some ways it definitely is. But this game has a way, like another thing that I really appreciate about this game is it has a way of like talking about the most, like there are things, especially in the back half of the game, that are as bleak as it gets. Like in terms of like life as a human, as dark and depressing as it can possibly be. And yet the game still manages to find these little glimmers of light, and it still manages to feel like a triumphant, hopeful thing. It reminds me of reading Lord of the Rings for the first time, which was a very influential book series for me when I was younger, especially being a teenager. One thing that I think that those books really send up in a way that the movies never quite do, even though I also like the movies, is like this feeling of like, is it even worth the things that we are having to sacrifice as people to save this? Is this world worth what we are having to sacrifice to save it? And Final Fantasy VI kind of gets into that same feeling, but it never lets you forget that the answer to that question is yes. You know what I mean? Like, there's always like something in there that reminds you that yes, like the world is worth saving and that it's not all lost and that there is something still here, because
Hmm.
which I think is a great corollary to the Kefka character, who does in the second half of the game advance into straight up nihilism. And this game was where I was first even introduced to the concept of nihilism in general. And yeah, like a song like this, moments like this, I think are the antithesis of what like the villain of the game is presenting. Kafka as a character is not like a great character.
Hmm.
He's like as a villain, he doesn't have like some great arc or whatever, but what Kafka represents is theme, and he represents like this whole concept and oppressive like question looming over the world, and is any of this worth it, and is this all insignificant? And that sort of whole concept of like none of this matters, and it's like, if none of this matters, then the only thing that matters is what we're doing right now, you know. So I'm getting emotional talking about this. it,
No,
it,
it's
it,
fine.
it reminds me of like the same feelings I had when I watched like Everything Everywhere All at Once for the first time, like that stuff hits for me. Like that message really hits for me in a way that that is unexpected. And I think that this game is the first time I ever like looked at the world through that lens, ever in my life, I guess.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah. So and I really like those themes too. And that also again, yeah, leans into the searching for friends aspect of where you're literally searching the wastelands of this planet, looking for your former allies. And for me,
yeah,
it most hit when you find Tara, and that she's kind of given up like the fight. Like she just wants to take
right,
care of the kids that she is now like fostering basically, and like
yeah,
what drives her forward to change her mind and fight and stuff like that. There again, me complaining about like the story, it's more so just like a lack of text, but like there is subtext for a lot of really cool stuff in here. My favorite character storyline wise is Cyan. I just feel like he goes through it in this game. Like he's
sure, yeah,
maybe more than anyone the one that gets like the most, like, I don't know, personally like just destroyed in this game. I mean, I guess whatever. Basically everyone does in this game, but
yeah, yeah,
um there's a really good YouTube comment that I'm looking forward to reading about Cyan specifically. But yeah, like the themes that they're going for with Cyan is like he's samurai coded, and he's like a man of honor, and seeing like his arc go from like he is an unbending tree with his honor system and his code of ethics, and seeing that he doesn't really bend exactly, but he does start to like let the wind sway him a little bit, and realizing his
right,
place in the world and stuff, and like what he can do, that even though it might be an act of lying, that an act of lying can be kind, like that is a pretty deep thing for a 1994 Super Nintendo RPG that was played by a lot of teen or like kids and preteens and teens, right? Um, so like there are cool things going on in the game. I just wish, like, I crave for like more of that. Like, to be fair, like I didn't get far enough in World of Ruin on this replay to run into Edgar. But like I feel like Edgar is a character that they really hype up as this dude who has had like responsibility foisted on him, and doesn't, like, him and Sabin both, and they both reacted to it in different ways when their father died. But
right,
like that's a cool setup, like two brothers that reacted very differently to shouldering responsibility. I feel like he doesn't do anything. He just, like, he's a womanizer, but there's multiple womanizer party members in this game, so he doesn't even get to like stand out in that way anymore. Um, there's just too many characters for me. Like when even like the main ones don't always get the attention they deserve, but then you also have like seven other ones that just like get nothing basically. Like it. Well, anyway, we're a little off the rails, I guess, for Searching for Friends specifically. Did you have
Yeah.
you have any other note on Searching for Friends?
No, we should move on and give notes on the decisive battle, because there's a lot more to talk about in terms of that other stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the decisive battle is again the normal standard boss battle theme in the game, like non-themed boss battle theme, meaning that you're going to hear it a lot because you never go more than like 25 minutes in this game without fighting a boss. Which again,
Yeah.
we talked about it before. That is an aspect of the game I kind of like, especially because like there are gimmick fights and stuff going on. Like they do interesting things with them. So again, not exactly meant to be a complaint on my part. So if that comes across as sardonic, it's not fully. But I did pair these two songs together because my memories of the entire second half of the game is just hearing Searching for Friends and then finding a boss fight, beating the boss and getting a new party member, then going back to Searching for Friends, right? I just thought
Sure.
it was like a funny bit doing that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is maybe the most iconic Final Fantasy battle music of all time. Like this song in particular, like I mean, Final Fantasy is full of great iconic battle music, but I like if I had to like when I think of Final Fantasy battle music, I think of this song. You know, like it's this for me.
I don't know if it's a hot take. I actually like the normal battle theme of 6 more than the boss battle theme.
Okay.
I also, to be honest, I actually like the Final Fantasy IV boss battle theme more than 6. Again, it's great. It's not me trying to say it's bad or anything. I think for me, with 6's boss battle theme, it leans more into metal, and I tend to like the prog rock Final Fantasy stuff more. So I think that's where it like loses me a little bit, but again, it's still very good.
Yeah, it's just when I think of it, this is what I think of. I mean, like, yeah, there's Final Fantasy X's, battle music is great too. There's a lot of great battle themes. For whatever reason, this is the one, and maybe it is because like it's so associative memory. It's just like it's wormed in there. But this is the one I always think of. Like, what the way the synapses fire. If you talk to me about Final Fantasy battle music, this is the song that plays in my head. And yeah, like I don't have a ton of notes on the song itself. With the Pixel remaster, like going full electric guitar with the instrumentation is like, it's one of those situations where it's both the obvious and the correct choice.
Definitely.
Like,
yeah, I don't have too many notes on it as a song either. Because, yeah, the only real notes I had is that, again, that it's more metally than prog rock. And yeah, well, like when I think of Final Fantasy, like boss themes in particular, like I'm thinking of like the Genova boss theme, and maybe that's unfair because that's a specific boss theme and not the general Final Fantasy VII one. But like, yeah, I want like keyboard solos
like
and
more
like
technical, I guess.
yeah, or like the Seymour boss themes have a lot of prog
Sure.
rock going on, especially the last one. Was it Seymour Flux or something, or maybe that's the third one? Either way, like that's what I think of when I think of Final Fantasy. So like again, this isn't bad. It's just it isn't like my normal flavor with it, and I'll be honest, I'm almost talking myself into playing the Final Fantasy IV Pixel Remaster when I know I've been hurt too many times at this point. Like I haven't touched 4 since the DS version back in like 2008 or whatever, and but now I'm in this spot where I'm like, I loved 5 Pixel Remastered. I didn't like 6. Maybe I should try and give 4 a shot. I don't know, but yeah, listening to this song just made me remember how much I like the 4 boss battle theme. I guess then let's talk more about Final Fantasy VI in general, but from this point forward, we have no notes. So this is just anything that Seth or I want to talk about when it comes to Final Fantasy VI. And I will say, I ended up accidentally talking more about like Cyan than I was anticipating. So I'm not even going to have as much to say now as I thought I was going to.
Well, we can talk about Cyan a little bit too, because I definitely have some thoughts on him as a character. I love him too. I think that like, yeah, I like the points that you made about him earlier, and I completely agree. To me, he's kind of like the Qui-Gon Jinn or something of this game. Like he has that good balance of like, yeah, stoicism and adherence to rules, but at a certain point the context of his life and the revelations of the world around him have allowed him to like let his human side come through a little bit more, or at least question I guess what the rules even matter at all. And in fact, like when I read I read him in Liam Neeson's voice to that end, to be honest.
You know what? His character portrait doesn't look much like Liam Neeson, but his little chibi sprite, I could even see kind of, he's got a Liam Neeson thing going on.
Yeah, just like something about like the gravitas of that character. And like if I were to like cast a celebrity voice actor to Cyan, it would definitely be Liam Neeson. And yeah, like that whole, it's funny because the whole like my entire village was killed like trope is well worn ground in fantasy, but seeing it happen to the way it happens, like poison, like literally poisoning the water supply, and like seeing like his family like die, like you see it,
they
like
just keel over and die, his wife and child, along with everyone else, but yeah, specifically his wife and child, they just keel over.
Yeah, like it's really powerful actually, like actually seeing that happen. Like it's one thing to have like a villain go on like a manifesto or something and say that they're going to do something or say that they did something, and maybe seeing it from like a removed perspective, but it's kind of the power of inhabiting that character and seeing the world through his perspective that you get to see like the immediate ramifications of that. I also like the build up to all of that stuff, because one thing that this, like one of the many themes of the game is like the you know how like the sort of oppressiveness, the imperial oppressiveness and stuff, and the structures that have created this world and allowed, you know, somebody like Kefka to get into a place of power. And you know, the real world today is also a world ran by a mad clown. You know,
those are kinder words than I would like to do, but yeah, it's a family friendly podcast.
So it's, you know, it's kind of interesting seeing like the game tackle like a structure being created for somebody like that to seize a position of power at all, and to see that the game has a little bit of empathy for people that have been victimized by that. I think of a character like General Leo in this game who is like feeding into that structure, but is not a bad guy, you know, like, and like has that moment where he says, hey, no, you know what I mean? And he ends up paying for that, obviously. But like he has that moment where he's like, hey man, like, no, like this is not okay, you know? And I don't know, like seeing it was really impactful, you know, for me as a kid. I think it really definitely informed like a lot of my viewpoints, like as a person, like seeing situations like this, seeing a character like General Leo, seeing like the way that these power structures and authoritarian governments or the empire or whatever, like seeing that stuff like laid bare in this game, I think definitely informed a lot of who I am as a person. And yeah, I mean, like, I agree with you, like, and this is probably, again, just, like, a limitation of the time, that, like, a lot of this stuff, some of it is text, but a lot of it is subtext. At the same time, I love subtext. Like, I really love that, like, any situation where a game can, like, invite me to extract more from it, you know? That kind of is what I love about this game. Like, even you mentioned the character of Edgar, who I agree they don't do much within the game, but you can almost fill in the blanks for yourself in your own head of like kind of why that character acts the way he does, the womanizer thing, the false bravado of it, you know. Because like the fact of it is that he's also like a nerd, and he's like the sort of like, you know, inventory guy and stuff. And you know, it's I don't know, man, that stuff all still kind of hits for me. And yeah, I don't know, there's there's a lot to probably say about all of these characters.
I mean, for me, when it comes to like the text versus subtext thing, I also love subtext, and also I think a big reason a lot of these games from this time period are so beloved is the unsaid things, because it allows you as a person to let
Right.
your imagination run wild. Again, we talked about Mario RPG earlier, but like that world felt, as a 6-year-old kid playing that for the first time, that felt magical because they gave me like just enough context of like, hey, look, here's Mario's house. And like, to me, that was
Right.
crazy. I'm like, Mario has a house and he sleeps in a bed. Like, I know that sounds probably stupid to some people, but to a child, that was like, that literally was magical. It's like I was seeing a new part of this world that I'd never been allowed to see before. And then the question would become, so then like, what else is out there? Like, what else? So like, I'm seeing Mario's bed, which that's a crazy sentence, but like, what else am I gonna see? You know, like that's kind of the mentality it gave me there. But with Final Fantasy VI specifically, and again, I my perspective is different because I didn't play all the way through it until I was in my 20s or whatever. Um, there, for me, there just isn't enough text. Like I'm fine with the level of subtext, and again, the subtext that's there is good. I just left like yearning for more because, like Final Fantasy VII, they were on the PlayStation. They had so much more room for text. Like they could say everything they wanted to say, but there still is plenty of subtext of like implied things or just things they didn't think to answer because they didn't understand how nerdy people were going to be about their game 30 years later and stuff. So like, to me, Final Fantasy VII strikes that, and to be clear, I think Final Fantasy VII is also not a very good game either, but I have more of a fondness for it because of nostalgia, and also they do get that balance right of text versus subtext. But again, it's probably not like a conversation really worth having, because I think the answer is just that they probably would have had more text in this game. They just literally couldn't is the main issue. So
Yeah, sure.
that's just me wanting a version of this game that couldn't exist given when it was made. And I'm not one of these people that's like calling for a remake. How the hell would they remake this game in terms of like the scale and scope and all the characters and stuff? Like, what do people want when they say they want a remake of this game?
Yeah, it would be impossible. I mean, it's a small miracle that they're doing the Final Fantasy VII thing, and it's already this like big, overblown like trilogy of of games. Even with that being what it is, and it's not even really a remake; it's almost like a sequel or something.
Yeah, and it is full on like its own thing. It's just using like some of the skeletal structure, basically.
Right. So like I don't even know, like even if you just like, fleshed out more of this through like a modern remake lens or something, like I don't know how you would do it. And especially in the modern age, it would be completely unsustainable. There's just no reason to do it. But it's interesting. Like it's a funny game to like go back and think about, I guess. And it's also the kind of thing where I think about moments of my own life where a lot of my viewpoints and I don't know, like bits of my personality were definitely informed by this game. I'm gonna get a little real here for a second.
Oh, go for
it. So, my sister, I'm not gonna get too specific here, but my sister was a case of teen pregnancy. And I remember when my sister told me that she was pregnant, and again, she was really young. My first nephew was born when I think she was 16. And I remember like my gut reaction to it was to be furious, and I was still pretty young myself when this was all happening, but I remember like running off. She like we were living at my parents' house at the time. She told me on kind of the back patio, like hyperventilating when she found out, she was just crying, and she like she was like ashamed, I think, in some way, and she also didn't know what to do, and she was kind of looking to me for comfort, and I didn't give that to her in that moment, at least not right away, because selfishly I was really mad, and I thought that it was a representation of like her life choices or something like that. I was just irrationally, I guess, angry in the moment. And I remember walking away with tears in my eyes and, and thinking about, this game, weirdly enough, thinking about the moment in this game that deals with teen pregnancy with, there's these two characters named, Dwayne and Katarine that, you kind of mentioned. Tara in the second half of the game has kind of become a mother to these orphans because, this entire town, like essentially all of the parents were like killed, during the events in the midway climax of the game. And now it's Tara and like these two people who are like 15 or something that are like the oldest people that are kind of having to keep this little village of like orphans together. And she's pregnant, and Dwayne, like the guy, is like brash and pissed, you know. And I thought back to this game in that moment and the way that this game kind of handled that moment and the empathy that this game had for that character and I guess like this notion of like when something like this happens, like these people deserve to be protected in their most vulnerable moments. And it kind of changed my perspective like on all of that, like any inherent bias that I had against my sister or anybody else was kind of eradicated because of this moment in Final Fantasy VI. And I remember when she gives birth to their child, like it's a beautiful moment, man, in this little Super Nintendo game. And again, it really did influence the way like I came back and kind of reapproached and committed myself to my sister and the birth of what would become my nephew. You know, like I recentered myself and I said, you know what? No, like what she deserves is for me to come in and be a protective figure in her life in this moment. And, you know, like she's had a lot of ups and downs in her life, and she's made a lot of bad decisions and stuff, but like at the same time, like I do have to like commit and recommit myself to being a protective figure in her life, you know? And yeah, it's this game was kind of that's one of the things that I guess I took out of this game. And it's just from a little tiny moment, you know? And I really appreciate Final Fantasy VI for like going there at all and including something like that in this game. You know, there's also like the the moment with Celes and like this game's depiction of suicide, that I think was also very powerful for me. I think this was when I even realized what that even was. You know, like
Yeah,
I don't think I'd even encountered that.
I can't think of any game like outrightly depicting something like that prior to Final Fantasy VI. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but surely not like to this scale on like this popular of a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And like, yeah, it was like a foreign concept for me. Like, and you know, it was the kind of thing where like I'm not trying to get too real, too crazy here. But like from a very young age, I was having thoughts like that. And like to see like that represented like in this game, it was a really powerful thing. And I still really respect Final Fantasy VI. I mean, I can't even really think of many other games at all that handle that sort of theming. That, you know, and there's a good reason for that. I'm not saying that like every RPG needs to have somebody hopelessly fling themselves, you know, off of a cliff, but yeah, man, I don't know. There's stuff in this game that really hit me on a deeper level and has stuck with me throughout my entire life.
I mean, yeah, you kind of just stole the show. What can I say in response to any of that? Like what? Mog is cool. Did you name your nephew Mog, or did your sister name your nephew Mog?
His name is not Mog,
Ugh.
unfortunately, but my middle name is Michael, and she didn't name my nephew after me, but his middle name is also Michael,
Hmm.
and so he and I have like this like kind of weird connection and bond because of the dramatic circumstances of his conception, um but also the fact that like I don't know, I feel like an attachment to him because he kind of also like bears my name, I guess, like in a weird way. And anyway, I yeah, Final Fantasy VI, I like influenced the way that I handle all of that for sure. So
I mean, that's beautiful, and also weirdly fits into like light and hope piercing through the darkness themes that we keep talking about with this
yeah.
game. Um, maybe I'll try and finish my playthrough of Final Fantasy VI. I mean, it's been like a month since I touched it. Maybe I'll try and get back to it. Again, it's one of those things where when I started playing this game, it's not like I went in with the expectation of I'm not going to like it or I don't want to like it. Like I want to love every game I touch. Ideally that would be
Right.
fantastic. I think for me, it was one of those things where people have just hyped it up too much over the years,
That's definitely true.
and it
Yeah.
just couldn't live up to. Again, playing this for the first time all the way through in 2020, it just couldn't, especially in 2020. That probably also was not a good time to try and play something like that. I don't know though. I played a lot of stuff on furlough in the summer of 2020. This is actually my closer. This is the final game I played before I went back to work
Oh
in
wow.
2020, and I remember I put a poll up on Twitter asking, I don't remember what all the choices were of what RPG should I tackle next, and I had like Final Fantasy VI and uh, Dark Souls 2 and some other games on there, and people unanimously voted Final Fantasy VI. And I think someone I went to high school with, when Final Fantasy VI won, I'm like, all right, I guess I'm playing it. He's like, he was like, you're gonna be so happy with it. You're gonna be so happy, and then I wasn't, and I just never. I don't think I didn't have the heart to like say anything about it. In the
Yeah.
back. I mean, again, I finished it. I was committed to finishing it, but there, I want to emphasize, I don't want to come across as like the negative dude this whole podcast. Like I I'm the one that suggested we do this podcast. It's not like
Yeah, yeah.
like I like the game enough. It is hard for me, especially someone that plays a lot of RPGs, to like really gel with it nowadays in 2025. But I think what it's doing is remarkable. And truthfully, until Seth said everything he said about the teen pregnancy storyline, it's not even a storyline. It's a pretty
It's a blip.
tiny, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a tiny little thing in the game, but like that's something that I didn't even remember, and but it totally makes sense. Like that would be so powerful because yeah, where is that kind of thing depicted in any media, especially with any kind of positivity? Like um,
Totally.
or any kind of like realism for that matter, really. So that's cool. And yeah, I can't think of any other Final Fantasy game that does stuff like that, at least of the ones I've played. And so I want to make it clear that like I do think there is still value in this game. It just please, if you've never played it before, go in with the proper expectations. Don't let like the world
Yeah.
convince you that this is the best game ever made. But
Right.
there is, and if this does end up being the best game ever made for you, that's also fine. But just please don't go in with the highest of high expectations. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, you'll be disappointed. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and yeah, there's a million little things like like I always loved Sabin was always personality wise and gameplay wise, I think that Sabin's my favorite character.
Mhm.
In fact, so the first thing that I was ever cast in, I started my like voice acting journey last March of 2024, properly, and the first thing that I was ever properly cast in was Sabin
Mhm.
in a Final Fantasy VI like fan thing that is still not released due to some circumstances outside of the creator's control. Hopefully it comes out someday though, because I did a little I played Sabin in that, and it was really fun. And I auditioned for a bunch of characters. I auditioned for Shadow, I auditioned for Mog and Go-Go, and like I auditioned for essentially every male character in the cast. And yeah, like it, you know, like I really like that character too, and like the sort of, you know, somebody who is a brother and is like the oldest. I have like 9 siblings, you know, and like like that sort of protective quality and stuff really resonates with me. Like his goofiness, I think he's also like one of the funnier characters in the game. You know, like I could go on and on. Like I could go through all of these characters and what I like about them so much. You know, like Terra's entire arc in this is incredibly resonant to me, and kind of like deciding like deciding what your future means to you, you know, and like I don't know, like all of that stuff. Like this is the first game that ever made me think about any of that, you know, for sure. I had other games. I've had other games throughout the course of my life that have probably hit me more deeply on an emotional level, but this one is definitely like, it's always going to have a special place in my heart, even if and when I replay this game and I'm like, yeah, maybe this doesn't land for me as hard. Stuff like that is always going to hold like a really special place in my heart. And a lot of that might come from like the time period that I played it, but I think even removed from that, like some of these characters and themes and subtext, like some of that stuff I think does stand the test of time and is like fairly timeless and special for what this game is. So yeah, I just I love it despite itself. I love it. And I also think too that the reason that I give something like this more of a nostalgia pass than something like an Ocarina of Time is because Ocarina of Time is saying none of this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, good game, whatever, and like we could say as many superlatives as everybody else, you know, and obviously iconic and like a huge deal, but Ocarina of Time didn't change my life the way that this game did. Like, this game is a real footnote in who I am as a person. Like, if you distilled me down to like my base ingredients, like this game is somewhere in that soup. You know what I mean? So,
before we go on the next break, I did want to specifically shout out. I always viewed Setzer as like typical like Nomura, because he was designed by Nomura.
totally. Yeah.
Like the typical like cool guy. Like he even kind of looks like Pixel Sephiroth in a lot of ways, at least the chibi version of his sprite. Like I don't remember thinking like anything of him at all from my first time playing through the game in 2020. On this replay, I did find him in the World of Ruin, and we got the airship and blah blah blah. But that story really stuck with me this time. Of like he used to race airships, or I don't know if they raced, but like they would do time trials. Basically, him and like the woman he was in love with, they each had their own airship or whatever, and you know, the first airship in the game gets destroyed when Kefka takes over. But yeah, he had safely stored away this previous airship, and yeah, when you get it, you get this flashback scene to where the woman he loved, like they're like, hey, let's see who can do the fastest race around the world or whatever it is, and she goes off in her airship, and then he never sees her again, and it's just I don't know if it's said in the game, I don't remember if I saw it or whatever, but I think it was just an accident, like she crashed, and like it wasn't like she was attacked or anything, and
Yeah.
but he didn't know, because again, this is like a fantasy world. They don't have like cell phones, and so, you know, like it's impossible for like him to know, at least for a while, like what even happened to her. And for whatever reason, that really hits me again. I've talked about it before, but like wife in peril or girlfriend in peril, stuff like that hits me way harder now that I'm married than it used to. And yeah, it makes sense that it would hit me more in 2025 than it did in 2020. But yeah, that storyline, again, it's very simple. I basically just explained the whole thing. There isn't even really storyline. It's just a flashback to Setzer's life before he knew the party. But yeah, I liked that. That was pretty good, and I would have been down for more of that, or like rather, every character does basically get something like that. It's just they're not all created equal, basically. But yeah, Setsu's was pretty good. Did you have any specific story things you wanted to shout out before we take a break?
No, the Setzer one is good. I think it also like does some heavy lifting to kind of humanize that character a little bit more, because like like it kind of explains like why he might be the type to want to like abduct somebody, you know, and like it might kind of explain like some behaviors of almost like when he, you know, wants to like force Maria to marry him or whatever. It's almost like I'm going to like I'm going to take you and keep you safe or something, and make sure that like the next person that I love is not going to befall the same fate or something. And obviously that doesn't excuse him or make him like a good person, but I think it does explain, I guess, a little bit why maybe he feels the way that he does. And obviously that entire situation is what sets up like the opera scene and getting the airship at all. And so anyway, it's all good stuff. I don't know if I have any like specific other characters or moments. Like there's probably more, but we would just be, I think, rambling at that point. I could spend time on each of these characters if I could just be so real.
Well, and you know, we still have 2 more breaks, so I think we will have time, and YouTube comments and voicemail. So I think there still will be time to talk about some more specific story things. Let's go on that next break then. We've got Cyan's theme, the Super Nintendo version of Shadow's theme, and Awakening, and we will be back. And that was Cyan's theme, Shadow's theme, Super Nintendo version, and Awakening. uh, like I said before, I kind of used most of my notes for Cyan's theme when we were talking about Cyan a little bit ago.
Yeah, sure.
Um, though I look at this note that I have written down here. I wrote, the song is just excreting honor. And I don't like that sentence. I'm not sure. I don't remember writing that. I mean, I know what I'm saying. I know what I meant by
Yeah,
that. I just don't like the
I get
wording
it.
of it. But yeah,
Excreting is just that's just a tough one.
you don't
Excreting's a tough word.
you don't want to excrete anything, be it honor or not. It's just not good. But yeah, it just, again, we talked about it before. He's like the honorable like samurai stand-in type for this game, and very unswaying, kind of like, I have my own morality and I won't change it for anything kind of thing. And as the game goes on and he learns, yeah, his place in the world and like the rules of the world that were unspoken, he understands them more. Um, like he changes a little bit, but yeah, I don't know, around 41 seconds in, like, it just makes me think of everything with his arc, and like, again, his wife and kid being poisoned and dying along with the rest of like his kingdom or whatever. And I don't know, I'm just always a sucker for like the samurai character types in RPGs. Like, I forget his name, but in Octopath Traveler 2, I like the samurai character a lot. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, Cyan is my favorite, and again, he's another one where I think when you first get him from a gameplay perspective, I really like his battle gimmick, which is like you have to like wait. You basically have to charge up his move, and so in the original release of the game, you're sacrificing not being able to select moves for other characters and take a beating while you're waiting for the level of his move to charge up that you want to do. Um, that's kind of not in the Pixel remaster. They kind of removed that. Same thing with Sabin's Blitzes. Actually,
Hmm.
they don't let you really misinput a blitz, and also you don't have to memorize them. They just tell you the move when you select it. Which, from
Okay.
a quality of life standpoint, I get it, but also like it becomes a lot more brain dead, and maybe you can turn that off. I don't remember, but like it does kind of ruin Sabin's like the coolness of using him a little bit for me. Like when they just, hey, here's how you do the like the Kamehameha and stuff. I mean, that one I had memorized anyway, but that's kind of an example of where a quality of life thing actually kind of made the game worse for me a tiny bit.
Right.
Anyway, what was I talking about? Cyan. I just like Cyan. I like him a lot. I like his theme. Oh, I know what I was saying. Uh, he's another character where even though he's one of my favorites, it feels like in World of Ruin he's basically useless. Like
Right.
that move, I forget what it's called, like Bushido maybe. It just isn't really useful past a certain point in the game. But I still usually force myself to use him and Mog because they're my two favorites.
Yeah, yeah, it's weird, right? Because like I kind of do the same thing. Like I kind of gravitate towards some of my favorite characters, even though like in some cases, like yeah, that move with Cyan, like it actually kind of sucks. Like at a certain point, it's like
Mm-hmm.
not all that viable. Like
It's
just
straight
in
up
terms of a
bad, yeah.
yeah, like in terms of like a damage output perspective, like it's just but I don't know. Like I still I like that it's in there and I like that I can and will. Like the game gives you enough tools to break it that like I kind of just like having these dudes like in
Mm-hmm.
my party. You know what I mean? Like I kind of just like having my party composition being that way versus a situation like you and I are both playing Claire Obscure that also kind of falls into like not to get into spoilers or anything, but like also kind of falls into that trap of like a lot of its characters just become way less important as the game goes on,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is maybe my big major complaint with that game. But it also falls into the trap of because the characters do, I mean, a big positive of that game is that the characters are so different and so unique, but it's like, yeah, man, like I've found the ones that I really like and like the flow and the format that I really like. And so a lot of other characters end up just kind of getting like thrown to the wayside a little bit, and I don't often feel that encouraged actually to like change up my party composition.
Sure, yeah.
I I think that the battle system in Clair Obscur is far superior to Final Fantasy VI, but I do think that like Final Fantasy VI, at least by going in like the opposite direction, it's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna have my dudes then. You know what I mean?
And that's also something, again, I think I said this, I don't remember at this point, but I like the beginning of Final Fantasy VI more because they keep separating the party and like finding ways to
Right.
give you different party compositions. And like some people
Right.
I know don't like that about Final Fantasy VI and other Final Fantasy games, but I like it when they force you to mix and match and like have
I
different
like it
character
too.
combinations. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's also a part where World of Ruin kind of loses it for me of like, well, once I start getting everyone back, like, this is on me, but I just beeline straight for Mog when I got to World of Ruin. Like, once I could get
Sure.
there, that's where I went. But yeah, I don't know. There's something missing for me in World of Ruin. And like, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake or whatever it was called. I played through that for the first time last year, and that I had a really good time with, which is doing a similar thing of like the second half of the game is so open and lets you do whatever you want. But yeah, you just have your 4 characters. Well, you can have way more than 4, I guess, 4 party members, but it doesn't matter because it's a job system in that game. And that's also what I
Right.
like about Final Fantasy V is that you just have the same 4 characters. You just change their job classes and whatever. And anyway, I don't even remember how we got here, but that's all to say, I just wish Cyan was cooler in like the end game. Oh, because like part of what makes these characters unique is their unique moves and battles. But yeah, most of them are useless. These unique moves are useless. So it's like, yeah, I can just have Cyan and Mog learn Ultima, and I do. It is kind of funny having Mog just destroy everything with Ultima, but
It's really funny. Yeah.
like it's sick, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but I just want to do like the Geomancer stuff. I want to like summon like sunlight and start like healing my party members, but then it just whatever. Did we have any other notes for Cyan's theme?
Yeah, I guess I should talk about the song itself for a second. Yeah, no, you said a lot of what I wanted to say about the song itself too. Like I've always loved that character. I think that the like wind flutes in this really convey like that sort of like tranquility and like levelness, I guess, and like, yeah, very like samurai feeling, but there's also some very like the strings feel very like intentional here, and like what I mean by that is like the placement of them is very intentional, the way they're performed, and the drums too, actually, I think are very like distinguished, like very honorable and distinguished is how I would describe this song. And yeah, I think it's perfect for his character.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to Shadow's theme, then, speaking of perfect for the character, now this is getting up to something music.
Here we go. The one like Super Nintendo. This is like the one pushback I think that I had when we were putting together the song list for this. Is like, actually, like, I think the Pixel Remaster songs are by and large like, just straight up and down better. This is the one that I think maybe isn't.
And I agree. When I listened to the original, I'm like, oh yeah, like the whistle is a bit more sad and melancholy in the Super Nintendo version than, yeah, it almost feels like it's just a tiny too upbeat in the Pixel Remaster, but
right.
Everything else about it is equal or better. But yeah, that whistle is so important to the song that, yeah, I agree, we had to have the Super Nintendo version.
Yeah, it just feels more like, I don't know, more distant, like something about that like droning, like whistly sound in the Super Nintendo version. Like it feels more like keeping it like a distance, which makes sense for the character. It's also so cool how like different this song is tonally. The percussiveness of it, like even just the movement and the tempo of it, is such a huge vibe shift, from like basically anything else on the soundtrack. But even like the character of Shadow is a really huge vibe shift in general. Like I like when Shadow is kind of brought into the game, it's like, oh wow, like it's cool that there's a character like this in here, like I don't know, like there's something about that. Like it's cool that like there's this like edgelord abrasive ninja dude, like he has like a dog, and like I don't know. There's something cool about that, and I don't know. Like it just created like this totally different tone, and I think that like Shadow as a character, isn't given as much maybe as some of the other characters. There are definitely some characters that I think don't get as much like fat to chew on as others, and I love Shadow, but I would definitely say that he's one of them. But yet like the just the tone and the vibe of that character does a lot of heavy lifting and adds a lot to the game.
I think my favorite like piece of text in the original version of Final Fantasy VI is it, I think Edgar is introducing you or like saying, "Oh, that's Shadow," and then says the line like he'd slit his mama's throat for a nickel or something like that.
Yeah.
That line is so good. I was actually mad when I was looking for YouTube comments. I didn't see anyone referencing that line. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you all? That's one of the best lines in the whole game.
Yeah, there's there's a line that Shadow has about his dog Interceptor, and I just remember he says something like I don't remember the exact quote, but he says something to the effect of like you better keep your distance. The dog eats strangers. Yeah. And I was like, hell yeah, dude.
I'd also say like Final Fantasy games, they usually tend to do the like the edgelord character pretty well. Like, hey, look,
Yeah.
I'm not above saying Vincent was my favorite Final Fantasy VII character as a kid. Look,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
they do this archetype pretty well. Orin is my favorite Final Fantasy X character, though.
Totally.
To be fair, Orin actually has like a super sick character arc, regardless of how cool he looks. Too.
Yeah, he's my stepdad.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny. Yeah, when you first get introduced to Shadow, it seems like he is going to be the most like nothing character to me. Is how it came across when I first played it. But yeah, he does have a decent character arc in the game. It's also, isn't it implied he's Realm's father or something?
Yeah, it's implied. Yeah, there's definitely like a closeness that he has with Realm. Yeah,
And she like the dog gets along with Realm too or something. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I kind of remember that stuff. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about the song. I just love the whistle and the springy boing boings. Like it's just it's great.
Yeah, it's real good.
It's a
the
great
Western
song.
kind of vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, real desperado kind of stuff. We should also do. I know we already talked about a Uematsu episode. We should finally actually sit down and do a getting up to something episode. I think that would actually be pretty good.
That would be good. Yeah. Well, you know what? Too, I meant to mention this actually when you brought up Octopath Traveler earlier. Quick note: if y'all like this game and you haven't played Octopath Traveler 2, you should play Octopath Traveler 2.
You should just play Octopath Traveler 2 if you like RPGs in general. I think it's again, I like Final Fantasy 16 for what it is, but Square should have just taken Octopath Traveler 2 and just said, "Hey, this is actually Final Fantasy 16." Like,
yeah,
the battle system is one of the best turn-based battle systems I've ever experienced.
I still need to finish it.
I do too. I didn't finish it. There was so much other stuff in the game was real long, but
it's great.
It is a fantastic game. Particio is just one of the best characters.
I agree.
Of modern gaming, I think. I think he's so cool, but that'd be a fun episode too. Particio. We'll do a Particio episode.
Do a whole mini on him.
Yeah. That'd be fun. Minis on characters.
That would be fun.
For Awakening, I basically have no notes for this. I just think it's very funny that, I mean, for one, I do really love this version of Terra's theme or this, rearrangement of it, but I just really like this version of the song because it's called Awakening, and very often the song is playing when a character has been like passed out for a long time and wakes up and there's like bad news happening or something. I just again, it's very dumb and goofy, but I just like that. Yeah, that's the context that the game has.
This is the theme of when you awaken.
And it's a beautiful theme, but also it's a little bit harrowing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's I love a title that has like multiple meanings. So like obviously this is a reprise or a rearrangement of Terra's theme, but also Terra's arc in this game is not only does she literally awaken when they take the slave crown off of her and everything after the events of the intro, but it's also like an awakening of like the power inside of her as she learns about her origins and things like this. But it's also like awakening to your true purpose and deciding what you want your life to be, which is part of Terra's kind of arc in the game. And I really love that. And I like that just that one word title kind of sums up all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a perfectly titled song. I think that making it with the Pixel remaster, essentially turning it into like a soft jazz song, makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
This is just kind of like the gentleness of it, I think, gives it a totally different texture than, again, like the kind of like hopeful, triumphant, but still vulnerable, like drumline vibes of Terra's main theme. I think that this gives it a totally different flavor that feels a little bit more like the gentle consideration of oneself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that improves both songs just by the association. Like, because this song exists, I think that it makes me appreciate Terra's theme more. And because Terra's theme exists, it makes me appreciate Awakening more, which
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to like call back a song or whatever, that's the way to do it. Like that's the ideal scenario, I think.
Yeah, agreed. It strengthens both. I think,
Right.
again, it's just another example of like why Terra's theme is so beloved and stuff like it. It's also interesting. We didn't really talk about it, but like Final Fantasy VI doesn't really have a main character in the way that like all the others or most of the others do. Like
Right.
Terra is the easy answer, and she is probably the one that has the most direct relation to the main plot. But at the same time, I don't know. I've seen people bring up Celis as the main character, and
I was gonna say, yeah.
I kind of view Celis as more of like the main protagonist, especially in the back half. But I think that's also cool about Final Fantasy VI. But yeah, I don't know. Just I appreciate that. Like, I don't know if something happened on the back end in development where like it did shift from Terra being the de facto main character, or if that was always the plan and she just got like special attention put on her and her themes or whatever. But it's cool. It's cool that like she got this much attention put on her in an ensemble cast.
Yeah, there's an interesting one thing that is also true about Final Fantasy VI. The game is very like, operatic. In fact, I think that I want to say that I read somewhere that one of the game's co-directors, maybe it was Kitase, like has a theater background.
Mm-hmm.
And you can really feel that. Like the game actually kind of feels like a theater play or something in a lot of respects. And obviously, like there just is literally like an iconic opera scene that we've talked about a couple times. But it goes a little bit deeper than that because Terra in the Japanese version of the game, her name's Tina, right? And there's a famous there's a famous opera. I think it's literally called Celestina.
Okay.
So like the two protagonists kind of being Terra / Tina and Celes is kind of intentional, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like they literally just like broke up the names and like assigned them to those two characters. So yeah, I think that that vibe is very intentional. The fact that like in the second half of the game, Celes almost takes the stage is almost like I don't know, like an inversion on the sort of operatic roots of Final Fantasy VI.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Kitase, he definitely was going to film school. I think I read. I just in my foolhardy attempts to try and make this episode not 4 hours, I just decided to omit that. But yes, I also saw
Yeah.
that when I was researching it that he had that background. Are we ready then to get into the YouTube comment oversharing?
Let's do it.
As a reminder, this is the section of the show where we read off any funny or memorable or interesting or downright insane comments we've stumbled across while grabbing songs for this episode. I'm very excited to read this one. This is a two-parter, so I'm going to read both parts.
Please.
This is YouTube user Antonio3602 commented on Science theme 11 months ago. His arc was amazing. He abandoned his strict morality based on rules and let his feelings and moral intuition guide him. We figured it out when he decided to write to that girl, pretending to be her wounded boyfriend, to solace her. We can't forget that, earlier in the game, he quarreled with the girl who tried to flirt with him. These episodes showcase his evolution, giving up the paralyzing moralism of the milieu and seizing the living morals of intuition and mercy. Which, that's very dramatic, but yeah, that is a fancier version of what we were saying about Cyan earlier. But this isn't a response, but it was literally the comment right beneath this, and I laughed so hard reading these back to back. This is the YouTube user 22Gunslinger21 commented 1 year ago on Cyan's theme. Somebody poison the water hole. Which, again, that's probably the hardest I've ever laughed grabbing comments for this show.
The only way that would have been better is if it was a response.
Yeah, that would have been a really perfect response, but sadly the universe is not that kind for us. But I'll still take this, because I've never experienced that much tonal whiplash reading YouTube comments.
That really is like just the most perfect, like, to have this person, Antonio, like doing this breakdown of Cyan's character, just this eloquent, the utilization of the word milieu alone, I think really,
I've never been able to use that word in any real life context, but I
always want to. You know,
he used it perfectly here. This is the perfect time to use milieu. He killed it. And then
it's one of those words where you're just like, damn, I hope I get to say that one day.
I'm gonna keep it in mind in the future. Hopefully someone in 5 years someone brings up Cyan and I get to talk about him.
The paralyzing moralism of milieu. Yeah. Only for them to respond that someone poisoned the water hole.
Oh, I just thought he was like that because somebody poisoned the water hole.
Oh, damn, good point. I thought somebody just poisoned the water hole. Oh, Jesus. That's good. That's a good one. Okay. We've got one here from YouTube user. I don't even know how to go about pronouncing this. Sectoris
Pure? I don't know.
Yeah, Sector Ispiar, maybe? 2988. Commented on Searching for Friends 2 years ago. I remember falling in love with this song the first time I heard it as a kid, and then in parentheses SNES, and fearing that it was just a one-time incidental cue that would end when I landed the airship. I dreaded that possibility, so I just hovered there for several minutes just listening to it. Imagine my elation to discover it had become the new Overworld music! Exclamation mark.
Yeah, I just thought that was like a cute one. We don't often get to highlight the cute comments on this show.
Yeah.
I liked it because I can also relate, not to this song specifically, but like, I'm a big hoverer on like cool game music. If I get to a new area with something cool playing, I'm like, oh, I want to sit here for a few minutes. And like, every time I booted up the first Xenoblade game, I hung on the title screen like the whole length of the song, you know. So yeah, I thought this was very relatable and cute from a video game music podcast perspective.
Yeah, it's also funny because it does the thing, like, I can relate to the feeling that they're describing, but it also, like, using a phrase like, I dreaded that possibility in the context of being a kid playing this is very funny to me.
Mm-hmm. Like, you imagine, like, a 7-year-old gripping the Super Nintendo controller, just, like, sweating, like, oh my god.
I'm dreading that possibility.
I'm never gonna hear this song again.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is worth noting, like, you know, soundtracks for games didn't get really released in the West very often. You know, you had stuff like Killer Instinct, Killer Cuts, and whatever, but it was a lot harder to just rehear game music back then, unless you made like a new save at that spot or whatever. So,
yeah,
like, I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. It's also funny because, like, it. Like, when I was a kid, I don't know if you can relate to this at all, but when I was a kid, everything was just so heightened. Like, all of my emotions were just, like, at a 10 all the time. So, like, I really can relate to this feeling. I used to think all the time if there's a game I was excited for, the first thing I would think is, I hope I don't die before this comes out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, that was always, like, I've always had that, like, kind of fear in the back of my head. So I get it.
Yeah, the only time I've ever had that specifically with a game was when they announced Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, specifically that David Weiss was coming back to do the soundtrack. And then, yeah, I remember walking down the street, like, weeks later, being, I had to be more careful. Like, we have to make it to this game coming out.
Yeah, I still have that in the if I'm ever excited for something, I still have it in the back of my head. I hope I don't die before the Switch 2 comes out. Like, literally, it's still in there. And, like, that's always been with me ever since I was a kid. I've always felt that way. And everything is heightened. And I guess it's, you know, stuff like that is when you become an adult and you realize that you've had crippling anxiety your entire life. And you just didn't know that it manifested in that way, but it definitely did.
Turns out you should have saw a therapist like 20-something years ago. Is basically
when I probably should have seen a therapist when I was like 8 years old playing Final Fantasy VI for sure.
Yeah, maybe we all would have been in a better spot if we all played Final Fantasy VI and then saw a therapist. For this next one, we got YouTube user Liam and Daddy, I guess is what it says. So Liam and Daddy 4269 commented.
Didn't go for the 42069. I noticed you're missing the 0.
It's because it's Liam. His son Liam is there. He can't. He slipped in the 69, but he couldn't. As a daddy, you can't go for it anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Commented on Minds of Narshe 2 years ago. Dude, I am listening to this while drinking Modelo on the island of Kauai right now. Is that weird? Thanks for the upload, big dog.
Did Wilk leave this comment? Is this? Do we find Wilk's alt?
There's so much insane about this comment to me because again, we're talking about Minds of Narshe. That's what we opened the episode with. It's like the mining town that has like the crazy saxophone and stuff, and you're on like a Hawaiian vacation and drinking and listening to that. and then yeah, to end it with thanks for the upload, big dog. It reminded me of, I don't know what episode of the show it was, when Shy Guy sent in a voicemail that started with like, "Sup, porn boys?" Like, that's exactly what it made me think of.
Thanks for the upload, big dog. Yeah. Minds of Narshe. I really needed this today while I'm drinking my Modelo on the beach. Yeah.
I mean, it is a great song. It does not fit that mood at all.
The reason this reminds me of Wilk is I could imagine Wilk listening to something like Minds of Narshe while drinking a Modelo on the beach. I could imagine him doing that.
I can imagine Wilk doing basically anything if I put my mind to it. So
that's true. Yeah,
so
get there.
You're probably right. Also, the big dog. Of course, you gotta shut that up. Yeah.
A calling card of Wilk big dogs only. Okay, we've got one here from YouTube user Alex and Redelarge, I guess. 1901.
What are up with all these something and names? I didn't even realize that. So.
Yeah, my parents at one point changed their Facebook to like a joint Facebook.
No, I hate that so much.
I hate it too, and it's really annoying. But this is what it reminds me of. Like, do y'all have joint YouTube accounts? Like, it has to be Liam and Daddy. Like, it has to be Alex and Red DeLarge or whatever. Anyway, they comment on the decisive battle 1 year ago. Bro, the drummer was having the best day of his life recording this.
Yeah. I just thought this was a cute one. Like, the drums are my favorite part of the decisive battle, the Pixel Remaster version. I think I was too much complaining about it not being prog rock to properly mention I do love the drums in that version.
They're good.
So,
yeah, they're good.
Next, we've got YouTube user Richard Gratt commented on Terra's theme 1 year ago. FF6, the best RPG and the best opus of the saga FF. The best bestiary also. That's its all personal opinion, of course. Yeah, this is just a classic bit harmony. This has weird typos in there, and though, I mean, yeah, the best opus of the saga FF is a very stupid sentence, but I specifically wanted to shout out in this comment the best bestiary, which I find interesting because Final Fantasy does have cool enemies and pixel designs, sprite designs and stuff. Like, I never thought about it, but Final Fantasy VI probably does have some of the best, like, just messed up little dude enemies that you fight in an RPG, you know?
That's true. Yeah, I guess I've never really thought of that. Yeah, I'm somebody that loves, like, enemy characters in Mario games, for example, but I don't know that I've ever sat and really, like, appreciated the bestiary of a Final Fantasy game. You're so right, Richard Gratt. Yeah. I also want to call out the usage of FF to describe Final Fantasy is heinous to me. And there was a guy when I worked at GameStop. There was a guy who used to come into the store, and he was like, he was very. So I lived in Louisiana at this time, and he was very like country, had a thick Southern accent. And he would come in with like a WWE shirt that he's probably had from like 1992 or something, tucked in around like his pot belly into like some faded blue jeans. And he would come in with like a spit cup where he would spit like his dip into like an old Coke bottle, and he would talk to me about Final Fantasy, and he would call it FF. And he was like, yeah, I think my favorite FF is probably, I don't know, man, I gotta go 8, I think, probably. And he would just, like, he would talk to me about, like, various Final Fantasy games, and he would call it FF, and hearing this comment reminded me of him.
I like the idea of him coming in and be like, yo, got a new copy of that FF 4 Heroes of Light on the 3DS.
When Final Fantasy 13 came out, it was the one and only midnight launch I ever saw him attend. Mm-hmm. And I remember when that game came out because, if I'm not mistaken, I think Final Fantasy 13 came out either on the same night or in very close proximity to, like, Call of Duty Black Ops or something like that. And so it was very, like, they were in, like, close proximity from what I remember. And it was really funny to see, like, very different crowds of people. Including that guy who was like, I had to come out for the new FF, man. I got anytime there's a new FF, you know. So yeah.
This is unrelated besides the fact that it was a GameStop midnight launch. One time I went with narrator of the podcast, opener of the podcast, Boogs. I went with him one night. It was NBA 2K whatever year it was. He's a big basketball person. And he wanted to pick that up at midnight. And I was like, that's weird that GameStop is doing like an event for NBA 2K. I mean, I know they sell real well, but it didn't seem like a midnight event kind of thing, right? And so we went there, and the crowd was huge. And I'm like, what is going on? And then the people directly behind us, they looked like they were from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like they straight up had like big old overalls and trucker hats, but no shirt on beneath the overalls. And I was like, are these dudes here for NBA 2K? And I was like, what teams do they root for? Like, what are they here? But it turned out it was the midnight launch of Resident Evil 6 also. That came out the same night. But anyway, I was straight up like bugging for 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what other game is coming out tonight? Because like, there's no way these people are here for NBA 2.
Oh, yeah.
Not to generalize, but I'm like, these two dudes specifically, there's no damn way.
That happened often, dude. There was recently, it was making the rounds that Red Dead Redemption had celebrated its 15th anniversary or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I remember what else came out that night. I was the only copy of Alan Wake sold that night. So also happy anniversary to Alan Wake. Another funny example of this was Portal 2 and Mortal Kombat 9 came out on the same night.
Those are actually two good games, though, so that's cool.
Yeah, well, and it was funny because we had like a Mortal Kombat tournament going on, and we leaned into it, like we called it like Portal Kombat, you know, and stuff like that.
Oh, that's pretty damn good. I didn't even think about that. That's very good.
Yeah, one of the things that I really prided myself on when I worked at GameStop and I still had a little bit of like light and passion in my heart was like I was really good about like making like events like that. And yeah, we had like a little custom image made, and anyway, we had fun with it. But we hosted a Mortal Kombat tournament, and Eric, who you know, a friend of ours, he showed up to that midnight launch with no intention of buying either game. He just came to play and win the Mortal Kombat tournament. And he was working, like, he was in the military at the time. He had to wake up at like 5 a.m. or something. He came to GameStop at midnight to just play and win the Mortal Kombat tournament. That was it. So, yeah.
I don't know if like cool is the right word I want to use, but I'm going to say I think that's pretty cool.
I thought it was pretty cool at the time. It was so funny because it was like, do you want to pick up your copy of the game? He's like, no, I'll just grab it after work tomorrow. It's like, you're here right now.
I just won the game tonight. I don't need my copy now.
Yeah, it was very funny. I remember being shocked when he pulled up. I was like, what are you doing here? He's like, I wanted to play Mortal Kombat. So, okay.
Yeah. I guess
Anyway.
I get it, yeah.
So we've got two more here. I feel like I'll read this one, and I think that the other one is like the perfect one to end on.
Okay.
So I'll read this one from YouTube user Trolling is a Sport, who commented on Awakening just 7 months ago. I had my first real kiss to this song. Thank you, Mom.
See, since that one was last in our notes, I was thinking we'd end with that and then just not comment at all, because I have no idea what to comment on this one.
I have no idea what to comment either. It was crazy.
I understand his name is Trolling as a Sport. This is probably just a goof or whatever, but it's still insane. We talk about heinous comments and deranged comments on here sometimes. We had that one last time with that asking my baby girl, or telling baby girl to learn this song to lullaby me to sleep. This isn't quite on that level, because I am pretty sure this is a goof, but Jesus, I got nothing on this one.
It's pretty rough. It's a tough one. I do think that the idea of like having your first kiss to Awakening from Final Fantasy VI is really funny. But yeah, the thank you, Mom. I was like, I feel like I just need to call this person out on the show, if nothing else. So, but yeah.
Anyway. For our last comment, we've got YouTube user Munster442 commented on Terra's theme 9 months ago and just simply said Terra's theme.
that one got me. It's like, you know what? Yeah. Usually that kind of thing I find dumb and annoying, but here for some reason, you know what? Yeah, Terra's theme.
Yeah, it's Terra's theme.
I remember somebody left a review on the KoopaCast one time and they just said Switch 2, I think. And that's what this reminds me of. Yeah.
Was it on the episode where you played the Switch 2, or was it a completely unrelated episode?
It was a completely unrelated episode. I think it might have been like after the Switch 2 had been announced or something, but yeah.
I like, it's like a Paul Revere thing. He's just going into all the podcast comments. Switch 2 got announced. Hey, the Switch 2 is coming. Yeah.
Sound the alarm. Yeah.
With that said, that was the YouTube comment oversharing corner for this episode. This is a real weird episode, man. We shouldn't have done this. We shouldn't have done Final Fantasy VI. I don't know. We do have a couple voicemails. I believe the first one is from Parker.
Yep, let's hear from Parker.
Hi, it's me, Parker. I'm leaving this voicemail. What you did over of May 4th to May 18th. I'm just wondering, did you play any good video games? Check out the web series, Indie Cross. Don't confuse it with the Friday Night Funkin' mod with the same name. It's really good. It's really good. A good watch. There's some sneaky, and there's actually an ARG going on in between episodes. There's 2 episodes being available available to watch on YouTube. In fact, I'm listening to the Monster Hunter Mash episode. In fact, I listen every Sunday. I downloaded a new podcast episode of Bit Harmony, a video game music podcast. And on the day after Sunday, on a Monday, on the Vanguard, I listen to your podcast. I download it on Sunday, and I listen on the Vanguard to my school on Monday. And I love my voice message to be heard on Bit Harmony, a video game music podcast.
Okay. Thanks, Parker.
So yeah, Parker's voicemail cut out. Like he started saying something else.
Yeah.
It went over the 3 minutes. That's why we didn't have the customary Parker click at the end. For one, that makes me think. For one, I kind of want to cut like an ad or a commercial for the podcast with just I downloaded it on Sunday and I listened on Monday.
I love that. Yes, I love hearing how people listen to the show. Like I love hearing that. Yeah,
I just love. There's something about just I downloaded it on Sunday and I listened on Monday. Yeah, I quite enjoyed that. Also, like at the height of me listening to podcasts, one of the podcasts I listened to, that I look forward to listening to the most was This American Life from NPR, and I also would download that on Sunday and usually listen to it on getting ready for work on Monday. So I also relate. That's also part of the reason why I wanted to release the podcast on Sundays, because that was my prime podcast listening day back then. But yeah, no, thank you, Parker. I mean, this kind of gets back to what I was saying at the very start of the episode a few days ago. This kind of voicemail is the reason I like doing the show. Like, I just enjoy this whole thing, the whole feedback loop and whatever. But he did ask specifically what we were doing between May 4th and 18th, and specifically any video games that we were playing. I don't know if like the date is significant beyond maybe like the May 4th Star Wars thing. I don't know, but the only thing, it's hard on this podcast because like if I'm playing anything, it's usually replaying something for this podcast, or I'm playing something that we're gonna talk about on the podcast. So I can tell you, May 4th through 18th, the main game I was probably playing around the time was Clair Obscur, and we are definitely going to be talking about that on the next episode of the podcast. So
for sure.
That was the main episode, or the main game I was playing in that time period.
Probably same for me. If I can just be so real with you, Parker, I don't remember what I was playing like a week ago.
Yeah,
like
that's
let
true,
alone May 4th or 18th. So, but yeah, probably Clair Obscur definitely is one of them. I'm still kind of playing that. I'm hoping to finish that soon. Right now it's Fantasy Life, and we're also going to be talking about that for sure on the next episode. So yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm with you. A lot of the stuff that I play, I play a lot of indie games, to varying levels of completion. Sometimes I, play through the full thing. Sometimes I just kind of like touch them for a little bit and move on. So my gaming is very erratic in that way. But, yeah, I think that Clair Obscur is probably the safest bet for me to answer that question. Yeah.
Fantasy Life has completely taken
it's
control.
All I want to play right now.
In not just for me, but this entire household. My wife has been playing it literally the entire time we've been recording this podcast. I keep hearing the noises and the music. I'm like, I want to get in there. I need to craft some tables. I need to go fishing real quick.
I need to fish.
Yeah. I'm almost up. I think I only have one more thing to do, and then I'll have Master Rank Angler. I'm very excited about that. I hope there's a new outfit for me. But yeah, thank you for calling in, Parker. As always, we do have one more voicemail.
All right, let's hear it.
Hello, EON Media Anarchy, which does not have an official YouTube channel, but operates on the YouTube channels of all its constituents, I guess, as well. This is Spriteless again. Final Fantasy VI is a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
too
got
big.
Mount Coles with
Tell me about it.
Colts, which is on my exercise list because it's pumping and time for sprinting, and it's got Dark World, which is on my angsty list, along with Hello Darkness, my old friend, and it's if you haven't already played the Phantom Forest, then I'm requesting the Phantom Forest because that's not allowed, and it's got a bunch of pretty songs that people don't remember as much, like Gao's theme and the Realms Painter Girl theme. And wow, lots of stuff. Okay. Good luck. That's all for now.
Yeah. Apparently we needed it. Whenever we start recording one of these, I never know exactly where it's going to take us. I truly did not think this episode would be anywhere near as long as it's going to be.
Yeah, in fact, I was kind of specifically trying my best to not make it. I know that we had kind of built it up in our heads to be like, oh, like this is like the season finale. It's going to be a big episode. I still didn't think it was going to be this big. This will pretty easily, I think, be the biggest episode of the season.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, I appreciate the voicemail, Sprite. Should we go on our break then and do that?
Yeah, so Spriteless requested the Phantom Forest. I went ahead and just assumed they would want the Super Nintendo version, not the Pixel Remaster version in this case. And then because they also brought it up, and I didn't really remember it at the time, I paired it with Realms theme. This is the Pixel Remaster version of that. So again, this is the Phantom Forest Super Nintendo version as requested by Spriteless, and then Realms theme brought up by Spriteless and requested by me, basically. And we'll be back to close out the show. And that was the Phantom Forest from the Super Nintendo version of Final Fantasy VI and Realms theme from the Pixel Remaster version. Yeah, Phantom Forest. Well, for one, let me just say, I'm glad Spriteless called in requesting this because it absolutely was going to be in the episode anyway. But
Right.
them requesting it here allowed us to free up that slot for another song.
Right.
This is definitely, like, besides Terra's theme, this might be the most iconic song from the game for me. I do just like mystical Lost Woods-esque areas in any video game. Final Fantasy games do this trope pretty well. Even Final Fantasy VII, which is more, like cyberpunk dystopia almost, still has like a mystical lost forest kind of thing. In 6 specifically, this is where like people that died go. Like the ghosts of people come to this forest and they get on a train to go to the afterlife.
Yep.
And yes, you can suplex the train, and yes, it is funny if you're.
It is funny and good. It's a little like, I know that's what everybody loves to talk about now. It is funny and good.
It's overplayed, but it is genuinely funny to do the suplex blitz input with Sabin, and he jumps in the air with the whole train above him. It is funny. But also for me, this storyline wise is the standout moment of the entire first half of the game, because this is shortly after Cyan's family dies, and they're exploring this forest, and yeah, Cyan literally sees his wife and kid getting on the train to depart to the opera, or to the afterlife. I had it written down here that I like this even more than the opera house, because that's always the one I see people bring up as like the de facto set piece in this game, and like it's good and obviously impressive from a technical standpoint, but storyline wise, no. Phantom Forest hits me real hard.
There are several set pieces I would take over the opera, to be honest. And yeah, this is one of them. Yeah. I mean, yeah, even just that, like, saying goodbye to his family, like on the train, like it's a beautiful kind of like send off with that character. And yeah, the song itself, I like Spriteless's their point about some of the prettier songs being maybe a little underrated or underplayed. I think that's really well observed, because yeah, like that is one of the words I would use to describe both this song and Realms theme is, yeah, it is pretty. Like it is, like it's got like that really good like bouncy little bass line to it. It's got a real like 007 kind of movement, like it's got a real like do 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 do, like it's got that whole thing going. But almost like the string passage here does give it like a very pretty, like waltz-like kind of vibe. And yeah, like mysterious forest, but also like really does convey that theming of like, this is where like lost souls are kind of saying goodbye. It's pretty, it's haunting. Yeah, I'm glad that they called that out.
I'm really, really glad that Spriteless called out Realms theme, because I didn't remember it at all. It never really stuck in my head. And yeah, I think part of that is because, yeah, when I think of Final Fantasy, I am more so thinking about, like, again, like the prog rock driving boss beats and like the more bombastic, well-known character themes. But yeah, Realms theme was beautiful. Like I full on cried listening to the Pixel Remaster version. It's just so gentle, and that just fits Realm really well. I mean, she's literally a child party member that fights by painting. We talked about her a little bit, the implied daughter of Shadow also, but yeah, I just really loved this. I don't have many other notes on it. I just really, really loved listening to this. This is going to go into my rotation specifically.
Yeah.
Especially around 48 seconds in, it starts sounding a lot like Eyes on Me from Final Fantasy VIII, and I am a sucker for Eyes on Me, and so that's probably why it got me so good.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I mean, the thing about it is when you're trying to curate like an episode based on like they said good luck, we needed it for this. Because we truly, like, we could have just done every character theme if we can just be so real. Like, they're all great. And it's like this is a great video game soundtrack, and it's iconic, and people are going to come into it with high expectations and stuff. So like it's a tough one. There's a reason we don't cover stuff of this caliber all that often. But it is nice to like take a second to appreciate a song like this. One thing, and we've said this a couple of times about the Pixel Remaster soundtrack specifically. it's cool that like the original instrumentation of Realm's theme was so clearly trying to evoke bagpipes.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's nice that they just went for it here, you know, like with this like version of the song. Like let's just do it. Like it was so clearly like what they were going for. Let's just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something kind of cool that like, and I think is very evocative of Realm's character, because yeah, it's very gentle and pretty and almost innocent, you know, with like the core instrumentation. It's got flute, it's got like kind of harp sounding stuff in there, but then it's excuse me, accompanied by something that is a little bit more unique and eclectic, like bagpipes, you know, like something about that I think kind of like sums up her character really well, where like yeah, like she has that kind of like, you know, she's a kid, but she has that little wild quality to her as well.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. And yeah, she's a cool character, like having like the expression of her magic, you know, coming out through her art and stuff, her sketches and painting and stuff like that. I think she's a really cool character. They're all cool characters, and yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to celebrate that song and that character.
Also, just such a cool, like, I don't know, childhood wish fulfillment. Like, I would
Yeah.
like have daydreams like, oh, the things I draw coming to life. I mean, literally, that's what Harold and the Purple Crayon and whatever. Like, that's
Oh yeah.
that's a cool concept, and to apply that to a child character in the game. I mean, we don't need to get into the idea of like, well, maybe we shouldn't go around fighting like evil dragons trying to destroy the world with a child in our
Sure.
party or whatever. But
Yeah.
as a child like wish fulfillment thing, pretty cool character, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty good. Yeah, is that it? Did we do it?
I think that's it. Besides reminding people that you can, like Spriteless and Parker, send in voicemails or texts to the show. You can send those in either through email, that's bitharmonypod@gmail.com, or send in voicemails directly to the number 216-230-8540. That number again is 216-230-8540. If you call in, you have like a 3-minute time limit, as Parker ran into on this one. That's not on us. That's just the system cuts you off. If you email it in, you can send in however long you want. It's fine.
Yep. So please do that. We love playing in your voicemails on the show. You can also join the Discord. We have links to that in the show notes too, so you can chat with us there. Chime in if you want to send in like even like a text submission or something to be read on the show. You could do that. I'm happy to do that. So we have that going on. Check us out on Patreon, specifically on June 15th, as we mentioned at the top of the show. We are unlocking the Earthblade episode of Bit Harmony on the free feed for Patreon. So if you sign up for Patreon, even on the free level, you can hear Bit Harmony on the 15th while we're on our break.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to be on break and we'll return on June 29th. And I guess we'll talk about that more here in just a second. And speaking of Patreon, we of course need to end the show by thanking our patrons real quick. So thank y'all so much for your support over there. Bit Harmony is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you. So let's thank our Triforce tier supporters. Thank you to Adam Caparello, Bowza, Quagmire, Dan and Luma, Danilina Hosa, Foolish Fujii, John Cummins, Josh Vaughn, Ligerwoods 330, and Uncle Randy. And thank you to our Golden Banana tier supporters, Big Dogs Only, Bill Tucker, SAZ, Gamer Jason, Liam D, Marcus O'Neill, Phelan Ward, Rob Yapel, Shy Guy, thank you Shy Guy, Sean Ashton, Sparky, and Toxic. We appreciate y'all. Links are in the show notes for Patreon. And yeah, like I said, at least sign up for the free version. It's free, and you get more Bit Harmony soon on there. So check it out.
And again, to emphasize, come this July and August, you might be getting a lot of extra Bit Harmony if you sign up at the $5 or higher tier. So yeah, we are on break on June 15th. We'll be back on June 29th for the kind of direct sequel. We last year did a mid-year checkpoint for favorite albums at the halfway point of the year. We're doing that again with 2025 mid-year checkpoint. Again, we are going to be talking a lot of Clair Obscur there. So we won't get into story spoilers, I don't think, but we will be
Right.
talking a lot about Clear Obscure music there because it is definitely the best soundtrack I've heard so far this year.
Definitely.
Among other things, hey, you know what? The Switch 2 will be out by then. We'll have had like weeks of Mario Kart. I'm sure Mario Kart World will also end up being on that episode from what I've heard. So you don't want to miss it. I think our mid-year checkpoint and best soundtracks of the year episodes are really, really fun. I imagine this one will be a lot of fun too. Are we ready then for haikus?
Let's do it.
I'll just go ahead and read this without any pretense. I think
Okay.
it doesn't really require any pretense.
Sure.
This is an ode to Mog. Spear at the ready. Lil puffball bopper soaring. So fearless and soft. I was when I you know, I was trying to I was trying to figure out like it'd be funny to have like little as lil in here, and then I'm like, well, if I do that,
Saves
then I
you
can
a syllable.
Yeah, exactly. Then I can get a full-on puffball bopper in here. Yeah, that's look, Mog is fantastic. I don't get why Final Fantasy has like gotten away from Moogles.
I don't either.
It doesn't make sense to me. 16 does have a Moogle NPC. He just runs like a bounty board or something. But I think it's like the best Moogle design the series has ever had. I really, really like it. I think, besides like spin-off games, I think Mog in 6 is the only time you had a playable party member Moogle, which is garbage. He should be in all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we need more Moogles, Final Fantasy. It's like one of your calling cards. It's like just as important as Chocobos.
Yeah.
Like, definitely, you know, I think. So, okay. Well, yeah, mine is actually kind of more general. I was thinking about like a couple of ways to approach this. I probably could have written 12 haikus about this game, but
Sure.
I decided to just lean on one of the themes that I think is most resonant to me in 2025. And it has to do with like Terra, I think, specifically, but anyway, you'll see what I mean. Wake up, take a breath, shake off the chains of questions, become your answer. So there you go.
I like that. I like, again, incorporating the wake up, and again, we talked about awakening and that having multiple meanings with the mind control thingy, but also awakening to your true self and all that. Yeah, no, I think that's pretty good.
It's been a big theme of mine in 2025 is kind of like, you know, kind of embracing myself and like, yeah, becoming my own answer to the questions that I have, sort of thing. Spriteless mentioned, we don't need to spend a lot of time on this at all, but Spriteless mentioned the YouTube channel. Like I recently rebranded the YouTube channel to be like a personal YouTube channel, and it's kind of allowed me some creative freedom to cover like more games that I want to do and like just do, you know, stupider stuff and like not put myself in a box, you know? And so, yeah, that sort of thing has just been on my mind a lot lately this entire year. And yeah, it kind of, Terra sums that up a little bit.
Yeah. You're now free to do stupider stuff like put out a 4-hour podcast on Final Fantasy VI in 2025.
Right, exactly.
With that said, that was the episode. So again, if you're live with the podcast or you're caught up with the podcast, we are on break June 15th. We'll be back on June 29th for the mid-year checkpoint episode. Taking you out is the Serpent Trench from the Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster soundtrack. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.